Hey guys, tonight we're doing something a little different. You've wandered into a story that isn't just wild, it's going to change your whole idea of survival. You're about to live the reality of being a woman, alone on the frontier, when a Lakota war party descends on your homestead. And spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this, or at least not the way you think. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your city and local time in the comments. I always want to know where you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up to birdsong, which is normally lovely, peaceful, a moment that says the day will be good. But today, the birds are quiet too suddenly, like someone snapped their fingers and silenced the trees. You sit up in your small bunkhouse, nothing more than 4 rough logs stacked and sealed with mud, and there's a strange vibration underfoot. Your dog, Harlan, is already pacing, tail tucked low. That's your first real warning. You open the door just a crack. The light of early morning slices across the prairie like a golden knife. You see them. First, the horses, then the men. A dozen at least, maybe more. Their long hair lifts in the wind, feathers fluttering behind them. Bows in hand, war paint in streaks across their cheeks. The lead rider, he's already looking directly at you. His face doesn't change, he just nods once. You don't scream. Not because you're brave, but because you forget how to breathe. Your legs move though, thank God, and you slam the door and run for the back wall. There's no time to get your boots, your bonnet, or even your father's old musket that hangs over the hearth. You dive through the root cellar hatch. It isn't deep, but it's dark and cramped and lined with cold potatoes. The heavy door falls shut behind you and you wait. They come fast, boots overhead, the creak of timber, a horse snorts, then voices, not English, not even the half-Spanish patter the traders use. This is older, guttural and flowing. You hold your breath as footsteps pass just above your hiding place, and then silence. Too long of it. You wonder. Maybe they left. Maybe they didn't see you. But you were wrong. So wrong. The hatch flies open, blinding light, the shape of a man against it. Long braids, eagle feathers, beaded sash. He doesn't look angry. He looks curious. You try to back away, but there's nowhere to go. His hand reaches in. You scream, finally, but it's short-lived. Another figure appears behind him, and together they grab your arms and drag you out like a burlap sack. You hit the dirt hard. Your breath knocks out of you in one ugly grunt. Someone laughs. Your wrists are tied before you even realize what's happening. The rope is rawhide, tight, fast. Someone else ties your ankles. You're not the only one taken. There's movement to your left. Another woman? A child? You can't tell. Your vision's going dark at the edges. Someone hisses something in that same melodic language. A few more words and then the order, clearly an order. The one gripping your hair yanks you toward a pony, already saddled. You're thrown up like you weigh nothing. And then, movement. Wind in your face. Dust in your mouth. They don't ride in silence. Some sing. One beats a small hand drum, keeping a pace your pony struggles to match. You bounce hard in the saddle, trying not to slide off. The bindings cut into your skin. Your nightgown tears. Your scalp burns where they grabbed you. Hours pass. You have no way of measuring them, but the sun shifts, shadows stretch, and your back starts to blister from the raw light. The sound of your own heartbeat overtakes the wind. You try to focus on one thing, not falling. You pass through gullies, wide open flats, and a stretch of scorched earth where a fire must have moved through recently. At one point, they stop to water the horses. No one unties you. You're dropped beside a stream like another piece of baggage. You drink greedily from the water, face in the mud, not caring who watches, then back on the horse. When the sun finally starts to fall again, they slow. You smell wood smoke, a camp, maybe even a village. You think you see children running, but it could just be shadows playing tricks on your swollen eyes. They dismount. You're pulled down rougher this time. One of them says something and gestures to you, mimicking sleep. You nod, throat too dry to speak. They laugh again. Someone gives you a blanket. That's the first kindness. They don't tie you again, just station 2 men near where you lie. You try to listen, to memorize the layout of the camp, to see where the horses are, to calculate a way out. But your brain is mush and your limbs are numb. One woman, maybe 16, brings you a strip of dried meat and a handful of berries. She doesn't speak to you, just places them near your hands, avoiding your eyes. Her wrists are tattooed. You wonder what they mean. That night, you lie under foreign stars. Everything feels upside down and inside out. There are drums again, off in the distance, but no one dances now. It's quieter. A child cries. A dog barks once and is silenced. You hear someone vomiting. Could be nerves, could be sickness, could be someone else who's just been taken. The fire pops. You stare at it until your eyes blur and sting. Eventually the thought hits you. No one is coming to get you, not tomorrow, not the next day, and you may not die out here. You may live, which somehow feels worse. You wake to the smell of smoke and damp wool. The wool is your blanket, or what's left of it, and it's caught the dew overnight, heavy and smelling like someone else's old coat. Your arms ache from the way you were thrown down last night. Your whole body feels off, like you've been twisted into someone else's shape while you slept. A figure steps over you. For a second, your heart slams against your ribs, but it's just the girl again, the one with the tattooed wrists. She doesn't look at you still. She moves past, carrying a clay pot against her hip, humming softly in a minor key that sticks in your head even as it vanishes into the morning air. You sit up too fast. Your head throbs. Around you, the camp is already alive. Small fires dot the clearing, thin trails of smoke rising as women prepare food. Children chase each other barefoot through the grass, shouting and laughing, ignoring you completely. The men are nowhere in sight. You're not tied. This hits you in waves. Relief, confusion, panic. You slowly stand, every movement under scrutiny in your own mind, as if you might break some invisible rule. No one rushes at you. No one barks an order. But 3 older women sitting near one fire pause their grinding work and glance your way. Their gazes aren't angry, more like amused or curious, like they're watching a chicken walk around in shoes. You take a step, still nothing, another, then you're snatched. A hand grabs your elbow hard and spins you back. You nearly fall, but the grip steadies you. It's a man this time. His face is familiar, one of the riders from yesterday. His hair is long and tied with a red cord, and his shirt is made from soft leather, covered in fine quill work. He says something low and firm, but you don't understand a word of it. You mumble something about wanting water, your voice embarrassingly small. He repeats himself, slower. Points to the fire, then back to you. Then he does the universal gesture. 2 fingers to his eyes, then at you. He's saying you're being watched. You nod. You have no idea what else to do. Then he turns and walks away, vanishing behind a lodge made of painted buffalo hide. You realize then that these aren't just tents. They're beautifully adorned structures, each one different. Some are painted with handprints, others with horses or buffalo or mysterious symbols. It's not chaos here. This is a village, an entire world. Your village is now ashes. A new sound breaks through your thoughts. Hooves, dozens of them. The warriors return, riding hard into the camp in a cloud of dust and shouts. The children rush to greet them, darting dangerously close to hooves, squealing with glee. A few men dismount and throw something to the ground. Bundles. At first you think they're meat. Then you look closer. Clothing. Belongings. Yours, maybe. Or someone else's from somewhere else that got raided too. The man from before, the one who grabbed you, walks over to one of the women near the fire and hands her a rifle. She nods once solemnly. He says a name. She repeats it. Then he walks off again. You wonder if they were husband and wife, or something else. Later you're moved. Not with force, just a pointed gesture and a look that tells you there's no arguing. You follow the tattooed girl, who you've decided to call Wrist, into one of the teepees. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of sage and tanned hide. She motions for you to sit, then drops a bowl into your lap. It's hot. Something stewed and greasy floats in it. Bits of meat, roots, and something that looks like wild onion. Your stomach flips. She sits across from you, waiting. You force a bite. It's better than you expected. Salty and earthy and deeply warm. You glance up and she's watching, a ghost of a smile on her face. For the first time she speaks to you. One word. Washichu. You freeze. You've heard that word before. Traders use it. Settlers whisper it when they're angry. It's the Lakota word for white person. Outsider. Foreign. It doesn't sound hateful from her lips. Just factual. You are the other. You nod. She repeats it, points at you. Washichu. Then she says another word, taps her chest. You think she's giving you her name, but it's too fast, too soft. Still, it's something. Outside, someone sings, a slow chant with a beat that's almost hypnotic. It draws you out of the lodge like a moth. At the edge of the village, near a pile of stones, one of the older women you saw before is sprinkling something into the fire and singing low. No one else is watching. This isn't a show. It's just life happening. You wonder what they're praying for, or to. That night, you're not given a place to sleep. You have to figure it out. So you settle under a tree near the edge of the camp, curling up with your blanket and your thoughts. Someone tosses you a hide silently. You don't see who. It smells like smoke and dog fur, but you're grateful anyway. The stars are unfamiliar. Or maybe you just never looked at them this long before. You trace a shape that could be the Big Dipper, then lose it. It hits you again. This place, these people, their smells, their sounds. It's all real. And it's not ending tomorrow. No cavalry bugle, no brave rescue, no white knight storming in. This is it, and it's only day 2. The morning is cruel. It pulls you awake with the scent of burning fat and smoke-stung eyes. Your hips ache from the hard-packed ground, and your arms gone numb from sleeping curled around your only warmth, your own legs. You barely slept. Every time you closed your eyes, you'd hear something, a snort, a whisper, the shuffle of moccasins nearby, and jolt awake, heart in your throat. But the village is already alive again. It doesn't sleep much, you realize. Some people were still talking long after nightfall, and others started moving around before the sun even cracked the horizon. You stretch, and immediately regret it. Your muscles scream. Your stomach growls in reply. You stand slowly, wrapped in your smoky blanket like a ghost. You scan the camp. Teepees sprawl across a gentle ridge now that you can see the whole layout. They weren't obvious in the twilight yesterday, but from here you count maybe 30 of them, ringed like sentries around several fires. At the far edge of the camp, horses graze, tethered loosely or watched by boys not much older than 10. Some women kneel by the stream, scrubbing hides or washing clothes, and you spot a few captives like you, pale, hunched, quiet. You wonder how long they've been here. You wonder how long you'll last. You're startled by a familiar voice. Wrist. She's holding 2 bundles of cloth, one slung over her arm, one offered to you. She's speaking, fast and fluid, pointing at the bundle and then at your chest, your legs. She wants you to change. You take the bundle reluctantly. Open it. It's made of buckskin, soft but stiff in places, like someone tried to clean it but only got halfway. A long tunic, loose pants with drawstrings, and a belt of braided leather. All of it smells like smoke and sweat and animal fat. You look down at yourself. Your nightgown from the raid is filthy, torn and barely holding together. Your skin shows through in places that make you self-conscious under Wrist's calm gaze. You sigh and nod. She leads you behind one of the teepees. There's no privacy here, but she turns her back while you struggle out of your old life. The buckskin sticks to your damp skin and the seams scratch your thighs. The drawstring pants are too short and the tunic is too long, like they guessed your size using the wrong measuring stick. The belt helps, but barely. Wrist turns back and gives you a once-over. She nods once, satisfied. She leads you away from camp. You hesitate. You consider turning and running in the other direction, but 2 men standing near the horses glance over. One of them even tilts his head and smiles, like he's daring you to try. You follow her. You leave the teepees behind, cresting a ridge, and the world spills open beneath your feet. You're high up, surrounded by wild grass and rocky outcrops. Below, a river glints like silver in the sun. Birds circle high overhead. The wind is constant, tugging at your clothes, drying the sweat at the back of your neck. You realize just how far you are from everything. Your farm, the nearest trading post. Even the line of telegraph poles is gone. You haven't seen anything civilized in days, or has it only been one? Time here doesn't feel the same. Wrist leads you down a slope to a cluster of women kneeling beside a fire pit. They're scraping hides, long rhythmic strokes with tools that look like bones or dull knives. You're motioned to sit. No one explains anything, but a large hide is dumped in your lap and you're handed a scraping tool. The task is obvious. Do what they do. You try. The hide is heavy, stiff with old flesh and fur. Your first stroke barely does anything. One of the older women clicks her tongue and takes your hand, showing you the angle, the pressure. You try again. This time a slice of dried membrane curls away. Hours pass this way. The sun climbs and falls and your arms go from sore to numb to sore again. No one talks much. The women murmur to each other, laugh occasionally, and once break into a song that rises and falls like a lullaby. It's strange, hypnotic. You find yourself humming along even though you don't know the words. At midday, Wrist brings you something to chew. Dried meat again, tough as bark. You tear at it with your molars like a dog, trying not to look too pitiful. The air is dry and everything tastes like dust. Eventually the women rise one by one, stretching their backs, brushing off their skirts. You follow their lead. Wrist points toward the river and you understand. You're allowed to wash. You step carefully down to the water, nervous to be alone, until you see two young girls giggling waist-deep in the current. You wade in. The cold bites. It takes your breath for a second. But God, it feels good. You wash your face, then your arms, then scrub under your new clothes, careful not to be too obvious about it. You glimpse your reflection in the water and barely recognize yourself. Dirt-smeared cheeks, hair wild and tangled, eyes bloodshot and shadowed, and something else. A hardness you didn't have before. By the time you return to camp, the sun is starting to dip. Shadows stretch long across the grass. You're led to a new place to sleep. Not the edge of the village this time, but closer in, beside Wrist's teepee. She's made room for you. Inside you find a bedroll, blankets, even a chunk of soapstone. You sit, stare, try to feel anything. Later you hear distant singing again. This time it's different, stronger, more rhythmic. You step outside and follow the sound, hiding behind a teepee as you peek around the edge. It's a dance. Men moving in a circle, painted and bare-chested, holding rattles and spears. Drummers at the centre beat in time with their steps. Women stand off to the sides, watching, swaying gently. The man who dragged you from the cellar is there, his face lit by firelight. He's dancing too, lips parted in some chant you don't understand. His eyes flash once across the crowd and land on you. You step back fast, he doesn't follow. You return to your bedroll. You curl under the hide, heart thumping in your ears, trying to forget the way his eyes held you for just a second too long. You wake before the sun, not because you mean to, but because of the cold. It's the kind that settles into your bones and makes it impossible to fall back asleep. The hide blankets don't hold heat like the quilts back home, and the fire in the centre of the lodge has long since burned to ash. You sit up slowly, trying not to wake Wrist, who lies curled under her own blanket, breathing in steady rhythms. The lodge smells like smoke, old sweat and dust, but it's starting to feel less like a cage and more like shelter. That realization unsettles you. You shouldn't feel safe here. You shouldn't feel anything but trapped. But your brain has started adjusting without your permission. Outside, the air is sharp and thin. You step into it barefoot, immediately regretting it. The earth is frosted in places, and the sky is an enormous canvas of greyish blue, slowly blushing with dawn. A few other early risers, mostly older women, move silently through the camp, feeding fires and stoking coals, faces weathered and unreadable. You're still the outsider. You can feel it in the way they glance at you, then look away. You're not a prisoner in chains, but you're not one of them either. You're something in between, too alive to mourn, too alien to trust. A pot is handed to you. No words, just a nod toward the nearby stream. Water duty. You take it. You cross the same path you walked yesterday with Wrist and make your way toward the stream, passing under the shadow of tall pines. The air smells of wood smoke and wet grass. Something moves nearby. A rabbit, maybe, but you can't see it. For a moment the thought creeps in. What if you just ran? But where? You know nothing of the terrain. You have no compass, no food, no shoes worth the name. You don't even know which way home is anymore. And even if you did, there's no guarantee anyone's still waiting there. You crouch beside the water and fill the pot, watching as the current dances around your reflection. You don't look like yourself. That version of you is already days away. When you return to camp, something has shifted. You notice more noise, more movement. The energy has changed. People are gathering around one of the central fires. You inch closer, pot in hand, trying not to draw attention. A group of men stand together, warriors. Among them is the one who found you in the cellar. You've started calling him Red Cord in your head because of the crimson twist in his hair. You don't know his name yet. He hasn't spoken to you directly since that first day. Beside him, 2 women kneel, their heads bowed. In front of them, offerings. You recognize some of the items. Blankets, bone tools, a few strips of smoked meat. And at the centre of it all, something awful. A scalp. It hangs from a stick like a flag, hair still attached, bound with a leather cord. Your stomach lurches. You step back, nearly tripping over someone. The old woman behind you clicks her tongue and shakes her head, not in anger, but something closer to pity. Like you just saw something you weren't supposed to, but they want you to see it. This isn't hidden. This is displayed. It's a message. You don't know whose it is, man or woman, white or native, but it doesn't matter. It's not for you to interpret. It's to remind everyone who holds the power here. Redcord steps forward, says something loud and sharp. The people gathered around listen intently. You don't catch a single word. But at the end of it, they all nod. A decision has been made. Then suddenly you're called. At least you think so. One of the men gestures to you clearly. Several heads turn. Wrist appears beside you and grabs your arm. Not roughly, but firmly enough. She leads you toward the circle. Panic flares in your chest. But nothing happens. They don't tie you down. They don't threaten you. You're placed beside one of the kneeling women and left there, the scalp hanging inches from your line of sight. A silence falls. Then, Redcord walks toward you. He stops just in front of you, staring down, arms crossed. He speaks slowly this time, like he's trying to reach you. His voice isn't cruel, it's measured, almost gentle. He says something, one word, then points to himself. You guess it's his name. He repeats it, then gestures to you. You realize he's asking your name. You open your mouth and what comes out is dry and cracked. Anna. He repeats it, his accent twisting it into something new. Anna. You nod. He turns back to the group, says something else. Laughter ripples through the crowd. Then the ceremony, or whatever it was, ends. People begin to disperse. The scalp remains. Redcord doesn't speak to you again. He disappears back toward the horses. Wrist tugs your sleeve and you follow her back to the hide-scraping pit like nothing happened. But something did. You were named. A piece of yourself has been sewn into this place now, however small, and you feel it. An invisible thread pulling tighter, drawing you deeper. That afternoon, while cleaning a hide, you nick your finger. The cut is small, but it bleeds more than you'd expect. Wrist notices. She grabs a pinch of dried powder from a pouch at her waist and presses it into the wound. It stings like fire. You jerk your hand back, swearing under your breath. Wrist laughs. It's the first time you've heard her laugh, and it sounds like rain. Short, sharp, gone in an instant. Later she shows you how to twist sinew into thread, how to score the hide just enough to soften it without tearing. You're terrible at it, but she lets you fail. As the sun sinks again, the wind picks up. You spot a group of boys on a ridge silhouetted against the sky, running races or chasing a dog. Someone's cooking something richer tonight. You smell grease and fat crackling over a hotter flame. That night, you sleep in Wrist's lodge again. She sings to herself as she braids her hair, something low and rhythmic. You listen from the shadows, letting the melody lull you. You whisper your name, Anna, into the dark. It doesn't sound quite the same anymore. You wake to eyes, 5 or 6 pairs, unmoving, fixed on you. You're still half tangled in your hide blanket, curled at the base of Wrist's teepee. The early light paints everything in the camp with a pale gold, and right there in front of you, no more than 10 feet away, a cluster of women sit on their heels in a loose semicircle, silent, staring. One of them, older than the others with silver-streaked braids and a sharp, angular jaw, blinks slowly. Another adjusts a baby in a sling across her chest, never breaking eye contact. None of them say anything, not one word, just there. You sit up, brush the pine needles from your hair and look back, unsure whether to speak or crawl into the earth. Wrist emerges from behind the lodge carrying a bowl of something hot, steam rising in swirls. She pauses when she sees the assembly. She says a few words to them, soft, short. The women respond, but not to her. They look back at you. Then one by one they begin to rise. Each one moves deliberately. No rush. They don't glare, don't smile, just observe and disperse. You don't know what just happened, but it was definitely about you. Wrist hands you the bowl. You take it with both hands. It's some kind of porridge, thick and sour with bits of something chewy in it. You force it down. She watches you eat, and once you're done, nods slightly. Then she says the first full sentence you've heard from her. You live here now. It's not a question, not even a threat. It's just a simple truth, like saying the sky's blue or that fire burns. You want to scream that you don't. You want to throw the bowl at her feet and tell her she's wrong, that you live in Kansas or Nebraska or somewhere that had maps and furniture and Sundays, that your father's old Bible sits by the window, probably still open to Psalms, that your mother's wedding ring is hidden under a loose floorboard. But you don't say anything, because you're not entirely sure she's wrong. Later you see them again, the women who watched you wake. They're around a fire near the edge of camp, threading beads onto sinew and laughing softly. You stand just within earshot, unsure if you're allowed near them. Rhys nudges you forward from behind. Go. So you do. The one with the baby eyes you again, then pats the ground beside her. You sit. They give you a strip of hide and a handful of beads. You fumble the first 3, drop the 4th, and tie the 5th too tight. They laugh, not mockingly, just amused. The baby squirms in its sling and stares at you like you're the oddest thing she's ever seen. You probably are. You keep threading beads. Green, blue, bone, green again. You don't speak because what would you say? But you listen. You begin to notice rhythm in their speech, cadence, structure. Some words repeat, wiaka, thanka, awayawa. You mouth them silently, trying them on like strange jewellery. Eventually one woman, tall with a single braid to her waist, leans in and touches your arm. She points to herself, Wingyang, then points to you, wiaka. You blink. You recognise that one. You've heard the children whisper it when you pass, and you know what it means. Young woman, a little sting in your chest. Not outsider, not captive, just young woman. You nod, and she nods back, then continues beading. Later, Rhys finds you again, pulling you away from the group and toward the horse corral. A boy, maybe 12 or 13, stands holding a rope. A dun-coloured pony shifts its weight anxiously at the end of it. Rhys says one word, ride. You shake your head. It's been years since you rode, since your older brother let you up on his mare for 5 minutes before your mother dragged you back inside by the ear. Rhys says it again, ride. She's not going to let this go. The boy boosts you up, not gently. The pony is smaller than you expect, barely taller than your shoulder. It sidesteps, ears flicking back. You grip the thick mane and try to balance. No saddle, no reins, just you and the animal and the boy clicking his tongue. It jerks forward, and your stomach lurches. You don't fall, but it's close. The camp watches from a distance. No one's laughing. Rhys jogs beside you, shouting instructions in Lakota you can't understand. Somehow, you start to move with the pony instead of against it. You lean when it turns. You let the bounce travel up through your spine instead of resisting it. Something about it feels good, wild, a little like freedom, but not the kind you thought you wanted. You ride in a slow circle, then dismount gracelessly, nearly toppling into the dirt. The boy snorts. Rhys grins. You let yourself grin back. And that night they give you something, and it's small. A leather pouch strung with 3 beads, blue, red, and green. Inside you find a tuft of what looks like fur and a sliver of bone. Rhys places it in your hand and says a single word, wakang. You don't know what it means, but you hold on to it. You tie the pouch around your neck and sleep with it tucked beneath your shirt. For the first time, you don't dream about running. You wake to the sound of coughing. Not yours, Rhys's, deep, dry, rattling. It tears out of her chest like bark being stripped from a tree. She's sitting up in the dark, hunched over, her hair unbraided and messy. You see the shape of her wrapped in her blanket, rocking slightly, trying not to wake you, but failing. You reach for the water pouch and offer it without a word. She takes it, sips, then gives a soft grunt that could be a thank you or just frustration. You lie back, listening to her breathing slow again. Sleep comes in odd fits now, when it comes at all. You think about that word she gave you last night, wakang, and wonder what's in the pouch. You've smelled it a dozen times already. Earthy, musky, something faintly sweet like crushed sage. You wear it now, always. Not because you understand it, but because you want to. That in itself is unsettling. You've stopped asking when you'll be rescued, stopped checking the horizon for riders or cavalry, or even smoke from a settlement. That's not giving up. It's just adjusting. You can't stay in the moment before forever. You've moved into the moment after, the part where you figure out how to survive, or something that looks like it. Today is a long day. It starts with wrist's cough and ends with your first real sense of ownership. It starts with your hair. You've been looking worse than usual lately. Your old braids are long gone. Your hair has turned to knots and frizz and clumps, heavy with smoke and sweat and days of work. You've mostly tried to ignore it, but this morning wrist just stares at you, hands on hips, and says, "No." That's it. Just no. Then she grabs a bone comb and a pot of what looks like melted animal fat. You sit between her knees like a child while she pulls and separates and combs and yanks your scalp raw. You hiss more than once. She smacks the back of your head each time, muttering something sharp. Eventually your hair is back in 2 long braids. You touch them when she's done, tentative, a little stunned. It's the first time you felt like your body is yours again, and it's not the only thing you get to keep. After morning chores, one of the older women, Silver Braid you've started calling her, tosses you a small hide bag. You open it and find needles, all thread made of sinew and bits of decorated fabric. She mimes stitching, points to your tunic, then to a small hole near the seam. You get it. This is yours now. A task, a tool, a small but solid piece of self. You work beside the other women again, the same ones who stared at you when you woke that day. Now they let you sit a little closer, even show you how to tie certain stitches and how to thread the awl without snapping the sinew. You catch snatches of their names, Maza, Wichangchala, Hota. You can't pronounce them well yet, but you try to hold each one like a fragile cup. Midday you hear the drums again, not the fast, high-energy kind. This one is slower, steady, and the whole camp seems to pause. You look up and see a procession coming in from the east. A small group, 3 men, 2 women, and something wrapped in a buffalo robe being carried between them. It's not hard to guess what, or who, it is. A death has returned to camp. No one wails, no screams, just solemn silence and slow movement. The bundle is placed in the centre of camp, near the ceremonial fire. People begin to approach one by one, pressing their hands briefly to the robe, whispering something, then stepping back. You ask Wrist quietly, "Who?" She says only, "Boy, killed by soldiers, near Platte." Your breath catches. So the war party didn't come back empty-handed last week. That scalp wasn't the whole story. Someone's son didn't make it home. And now, all these people, the same ones who scraped hides and laughed and handed you porridge, are holding that grief like a shared stone. Even you feel it, even though it's not yours. As night falls, the singing begins, low, layered, and mournful. You don't understand the words, but the feeling is unmistakable. It vibrates in your bones. It's not the sharp cry of European funerals. It's something deeper, like the land itself is singing him back into the earth. You stay outside long after everyone else returns to their lodges. You think about your brother, Samuel, who died in a fire when you were 10. You wonder if his bones ever cooled, if the flames took his face first or last. You haven't thought about him in years. And now here you are, remembering him under an alien sky, in a place where no one even knows he existed. That's what they took from you. Not just land or family or comfort. They took your witness. There's no one left here who remembers your name before this. You try to hold on to it anyway. Anna, your name is Anna. You murmur it once softly under your breath. Then again, louder. Someone nearby hums in response, not understanding. That night, as the morning fades and people return to sleep, you pull out the pouch around your neck and untie it carefully. Inside you find not just bone and fur, but a small bead. A dark red one, chipped at the edge. You roll it between your fingers and you whisper, "What are you?" And for the first time you think, maybe this isn't a question for them to answer. Maybe it's yours. You're hunched beside the fire, poking coals with a charred stick when the smell hits you. Not smoke, not hide, not the usual tang of sweat and horsehair, but something sharper. Oily. Rich like someone tried to cook meat and forgot when to stop. You glance up. Silver Braid stands over the fire across from you, holding a pot with both hands and stirring slowly with what looks like a rib bone. The liquid inside bubbles thickly, the surface glistening like old wax. You see scraps of meat floating, some thin and stringy, others with weird shapes you can't quite identify. The smell is getting stronger now, stronger and worse. Wrist appears beside you and plops down, unbothered by the scent. She motions to the pot. Eat. You hesitate. What is it? She shrugs, then gives you the best answer she knows. Soup. Of course it is. You glance around. Several other women are already slurping it from bowls, lips smacking, eyes closed. It clearly isn't poison. But your gut twists anyway. Wrist nudges you again. Eat. She says it with no room for debate. You're handed a bowl. It's made of carved wood, polished smooth from use. Inside, a ladle full of the same bubbling stew, now steaming inches from your face. The smell is stronger up close, something familiar buried under something. Not. Bits of meat float on top, but they aren't from anything you'd normally see on a dinner plate. You steel yourself and take a bite. The broth hits your tongue like smoke and earth and grease. You chew carefully, then freeze as your teeth hit something rubbery. You don't ask. You swallow. Wrist watches. Another bite. You gag. Quietly. You hold it back, the way you used to when the preacher's wife served boiled cabbage at Sunday gatherings. A technique you thought you'd never use again. Someone across the fire snorts. You look up. It's a young boy, maybe 8 or 9. He's watching you eat like it's the best entertainment of the week. His mouth is full of food and glee. When you grimace, he copies the face, over-exaggerated, then starts laughing so hard he snorts broth out his nose. Great. You're the morning show. Wrist elbows him, not harshly, just enough to remind him to behave. The boy makes a mock-serious face, salutes, and scampers off, still chuckling. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand and hand the bowl back to Wrist. Thank you, you mumble. She nods, satisfied. After the meal, your stomach does a strange little roll. Not pain, just confusion. It's like your body's not sure whether to keep the stew or evacuate it. You sit by the fire, hugging your knees, watching the sky lighten. Camp life moves around you. So normal, so mechanical. Women gather tools and children, men saddle ponies, and the air fills with the sharp slap of wet hides against stone. You stand too fast. The stew answers back. You stagger behind a bush and empty your stomach into the dirt. Wrist doesn't follow, but when you return green and shaking, she offers you a cup of something warm and bitter. You sip. It helps. A little. Later, Silverbraid explains, through gestures and a few words you think you understand, that it was bone broth. From buffalo, mostly. Feet and tendons boiled for hours. A healing food, strength-giving. Important. You nod. You understand. You just wish you didn't have to taste it to learn that lesson. By midday, you feel better. Enough to work. You spend the afternoon stitching a torn robe beside the others. Muzza shows you a new knot, and when you manage it without fumbling, she claps once and grins. The others murmur approval. It feels like getting a gold star. Then you're sent with a group to gather firewood. You're handed a basket, bark woven with rawhide straps, and pointed toward the trees beyond the ridge. No escort, no tether. Just you and 3 other women. It takes a moment to realize this is trust, or a test, probably both. You walk in silence for a while. The trees here are sparse but tall, and their fallen branches crunch underfoot. The other women scatter slightly, all working at different paces, collecting sticks and limbs without talking much. You do the same, building a bundle, stacking them carefully. The sky above is endless and cold, pale blue with thin clouds streaking across it like pulled wool. When you stop to wipe sweat from your forehead, you see her. Another white woman, maybe 30, maybe 40, hard to tell. Her face is weathered, her clothes even more so. She's standing off to the side just beyond the tree line staring at you. Not in surprise, not in curiosity, but with something like recognition. You blink. She gives the faintest nod, a tired one, then turns and walks away, vanishing behind a slope. You don't follow. You're not sure if you even saw her at all. But when you return to camp and unload your bundle, you can't stop thinking about her. Was she a captive like you? Or longer than you? Or not a captive at all, but someone who stayed, chose to? You try to describe her to Wrist later, but your words don't land. You pantomime, point, sketch in the dirt. Wrist watches, nods slowly and says one word. Wiaka. Young woman. It's not an answer, it's a mirror. That night you sit beside the fire, rubbing the beaded pouch between your fingers. The camp is quieter than usual. The boy who mocked your stew struggle this morning sits across from you now, carving something from wood with a tiny serious frown. When he sees you watching, he holds it up. It's you, sort of. A tiny crude figure. Big hair, long dress, squinty eyes. He points to it, then to you, then smirks. You reach over, snatch it from his hand and examine it like it's an artifact, then hand it back with a raised eyebrow. He laughs. So do you. Later you lie down on your bedroll and feel the stew, the walk, the laugh, the strange woman's nod, all churning together. You think about how strange it is, what the body decides to keep, what it throws away. You couldn't keep the food, but the moment, the nod, the smile, the carved doll that stays. You're squatting by the stream again, rinsing your hands after a long sticky morning scraping fat off hides. Your fingers are raw, your knuckles cracked, and every muscle in your back feels like it's been replaced with a length of wet rope. The cold water helps a little. You let your hands float just beneath the surface, watching the silt swirl and drift like smoke, and then you hear it. A rustle in the reeds. You glance up, alert. Could be a rabbit, or a snake, or worse. You shift your weight, ready to bolt, but then something small and dark darts out from the brush and into full view. It's the boy. The same one from the stew incident. The one who carved the tiny version of you. He's grinning like he just got away with murder, bare feet splashing in the shallows. You watch him in silence as he picks up a flat stone and skips it across the water. 2 bounces, then a plunk. Then he looks at you and mimics your stiff, sore crouch. Exaggerated. Groaning, hunched, old. He grabs his lower back like he's aged 30 years and shuffles in a slow, wounded circle. Then he collapses onto the rocks with a dramatic sigh, clutching his hands to his chest. You blink. Did he just impersonate you? He did. He cracks up, laughing so hard he hiccups. You should be offended. You should tell him off. But your mouth twitches instead. You look around, no one's watching, and then you groan louder than necessary, slump down beside him, and mimic his exaggerated little dance of pain. Now he's on the ground, gasping with laughter. You two look ridiculous, but for the first time, you don't feel ridiculous. His name is Matto. You hear someone call it later that evening. He responds instantly, bounding toward the fire with a half-carved wooden stick in hand. He doesn't look back at you, but you remember the grin he gave you at the stream, and it follows you into the quiet. You didn't expect to find a child here, not one that would mock you to your face and somehow pull you back from the edge of your own mind in the same breath. Later, you bring out your own little carving, your lopsided self, and place it near your bedroll. You add a bead to its necklace, mirroring your real one. Matto sees it, pretends not to, then grins wider the next time your eyes meet. That night there's music. Not drums, not chants, fiddling. You freeze in place. Someone is playing a fiddle. It's not perfect. Notes are scratchy, uneven, but the melody is unmistakable. Something that could have come from a barn dance or a Sunday gathering. Something you might have hummed while picking beans or mending your father's shirt. You follow the sound like a ghost, barefoot and slow, moving between teepees. No one stops you. Near the edge of camp you find them. A small group of men, seated cross-legged, passing around a pipe. One holds a battered fiddle in his lap, the bow nearly threadbare. He plays with his eyes half closed. The tune is simple, old. You sit on the grass, stunned. The man opens his eyes, sees you, then lifts the bow and plays again, this time a new tune, livelier. A jig, almost. His gaze flicks toward you, daring you to recognize it. You do. It's a settler's tune. You've heard it at dances. Your mother tapped her foot to it while cooking. Your uncle whistled it during spring planting. This man knows it. How? A trader taught him? A captive before you? Maybe he stole the fiddle in a raid. Maybe he learned by ear. You'll never know. But for 2 minutes, you're not here. You're back home, holding your sister's hand, laughing, spinning, sweating in the sun. When the tune ends, no one claps. No one speaks. He simply lowers the fiddle, exhales, and passes the pipe. The next morning, your dreams cling like wet cotton. You feel half back in that jig, half in the damp cold of the grass where you sat too long. Everything is in between now. Your thoughts, your steps, your place in the camp. You begin work as usual, but you're distracted. You sew a hide pouch crooked. You misplace a bone needle. You flinch at loud laughter. You can't shake the memory of that music, that bridge between your two lives. You miss your sister today, the way she used to braid your hair and call you baby bird even though you were taller than her by 12. She would have hated it here. She would have fought harder, or died trying. You don't know if that makes you weaker or smarter. Riss notices your mood, of course. She always does. But she doesn't say anything. Just puts a hand on your shoulder for a second longer than usual when she passes. Later, Matto returns, not with a joke, not with a carved doll, but with a question. He sits beside you near the fire and points at your necklace. Wakang? You nod, surprised he's interested, and he points again. What? You don't know how to answer. You don't know what it is, not really, but you point to your heart, then your head, then the sky. He squints, then nods. Good, he says in English. It's the first English word you've heard from him. Your eyes widen. You speak? He shrugs, grinning. You narrow your eyes. How much? He holds up 2 fingers. Little. Then he runs off, laughing, and you realise he understands far more than he lets on. That night, you sit alone for a while. You look at your fingers, calloused, cut, stained. You think about the soup, the laugh, the fiddle. You touch the pouch on your chest and feel the bead inside shift against the bone. It doesn't have to mean anything yet. But it does, because you kept it. You're awake before anyone else. Again. It's becoming a habit now. Not because you're well rested, far from it, but because your brain refuses to let you lie still once the sun even thinks about rising. It's too loud inside your head. The dreams don't help. Last night it was your sister again, standing at the edge of a field with a basket of corn, yelling something you couldn't hear. You woke up cold and half crying, the taste of cornmeal on your tongue and the wind in your ears. Now you're sitting outside the teepee, wrapped in your smoke-scented blanket, watching the camp begin to stir. A dog trots by with a bone longer than its leg. Somewhere, a baby starts fussing, and you hear the soft rustle of lodge poles as someone adjusts the flap of a tent. And then you see them. 3 older women standing in a triangle near the horses holding something in their arms. Cloth, leather, fur. At first, you think they're trading, but then you realise what they're actually doing. They're picking clothes, and they're looking at you. You try not to groan. You've been in the same buckskin tunic and leggings since day, 3? 4? You've lost track. They smell like wood smoke and broth and work. You haven't seen your own reflection in weeks, but you're pretty sure you look like something that crawled out of a tree and forgot how to apologise. Riss shows up, gives you a hard squint and nods toward the women. Go. Why? You look like wet bird. Excuse me? She shrugs. Feathers bad. Clothes worse. Fair. You follow her reluctantly. As you approach, one of the women, a narrow-faced elder with grey eyes and a nose like a hawk's, grabs your elbow and pulls you closer like a sack of potatoes. She lifts your tunic hem and grunts in disgust. Then she drops it, waves her hand, and motions for you to strip. Right here, in front of them, you stare. They stare back. And suddenly you're 14 again, standing in a church dressing room, your aunt tugging a corset so tight you think your lungs will snap. Except now you're in a field, surrounded by tippies and horse dung, and you smell like bone broth and sour roots. You sigh and unlace the belt. As you undress, the women begin sorting through their bundles. They hand you new leggings, fresh buckskin, softer, cleaner, and dyed a subtle reddish brown. Then a new tunic, shorter and belted, decorated with faint embroidery along the hem. Someone clearly made it for someone else, but it fits well enough. Then come the moccasins. Your old ones are stiff, cracked, and far too big. Probably pulled off a dead settler. These new ones are real, soft-soled, stitched with care. One of the women gestures for you to sit, and she slides them on herself, ties them tight around your ankles like you matter. It's quiet the whole time. No jokes, no ceremony, just this simple thing. Here are clothes that belong to you, or will. You stand feeling strange, lighter, warmer, less like a ghost. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a polished bowl later, distorted, yes, but still enough to see the change. Braided hair, fitted clothes, skin tanned from sun and wind. You don't look like Anna from the farmhouse anymore. You look like someone they'd keep. You hate how much that doesn't bother you. Riss drags you along to the river that afternoon, not for chores, for a fashion apparently. She's got something in a leather pouch and keeps giggling to herself like she knows a joke you don't. When you reach the water, she pulls out a small stick and begins drawing lines on your face. Across your cheekbones, down your chin, even a smudge at your temple. You jerk back. What is this? She grins. Beautiful. You give her a look. War paint? She laughs. No, not war. Woman. Then she takes the same pigment, dried berries and ash from the smell, and marks her own face. Matching lines, though hers are more practiced. She looks fierce. You look like someone's weird cousin from a wedding. But still, when you bend over the stream and see your reflection, something in you shifts. You don't look like a prisoner, you look like a participant. That realization hits you in the stomach. When you return to camp, Matto sees your face and gasps dramatically. "Wiaka!" he says, clutching his chest and stumbling like he's been struck by lightning. "Wiaka! Dangerous!" You pretend to growl at him and he screams with laughter. You could get used to this, but you shouldn't. That night you ask Rist about your old clothes. She tilts her head. "Gone." "Gone where?" She shrugs. "Burned, cut, used. Used for what? Fire or dogs?" You nod slowly. Some part of you's horrified. Another part is grateful, because you don't have to decide what to do with them now. They're not yours anymore. You spend that evening helping Mazza and the others sort herbs. You don't know the names of most of them, but Rist teaches you the words slowly. Changshasha, Paizuta, Wapewashtemna. Some are for teas, some for wounds. One is for dreams. Rist holds it to your nose and says, "Sleep strong." You hold it longer than you need to. Later, you tuck a little bundle of it into your pouch. That night, you sit alone by the fire and trace the embroidery on your new tunic. You don't know who made it, or why, but someone stitched this for someone they loved, and now you wear it, like it means something. The fire crackles. The wind moves through the trees like a whisper you almost understand. You press your palm to your chest right over the bead. Still here, still you. Whoever that is now, you start to hear it before you understand it. The language. It's been wrapping around you for days now, constant, flowing, sharp and lyrical. At first it was all just sound, noise that meant do this or stay put or eat. Now it's beginning to break open, the edges of it. You don't know how it happens exactly, but suddenly you start catching things mid-conversation. Words repeated often enough to stick. Inflections that tell you who's angry, who's joking, who's flirting. It's like your ears are finally catching up to your brain. This morning, as you sit by the fire with Mazza and her cousin, stitching up the sleeve of someone's torn robe, you hear them talking about you. You're sure of it. You recognize Wiake, young woman, and the sound of your name, or at least the name they've been using, Ahna. They don't look at you, but they're watching you from the corners of their eyes. You glance up. Mazza raises an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Understand?" she asks in English, perfect English, like a knife. Your needle freezes. You stammer. "A little," she smirks. "Good. Then you know not to marry my cousin." He smells. The cousin sitting across from you gasps like he's been wounded, then dramatically fans his armpits. Everyone laughs, including you. So that's how it is. They've known for a while that you're listening. Now they want to know if you're hearing. Later, Rist takes you to the river again. This time it's not for work or face painting or even one of her weird unspoken bonding rituals. This time it's for words. She brings a handful of river stones, smooth and wet, and lays them out between you on the bank. Then she points to each one and names them, slowly, repeating the syllables until you can say them back. Ingyang, Wi, Mni, Shunkar, stone, Sunday water, dog. You know these things, you've lived beside them your whole life, but now you have to name them again like a child. The sun makes your scalp itch. Sweat trickles down your back. You keep going. Bird, tree, sky, fire, food, hand. You mess up the word for fire and say something closer to meat. Rist shakes her head, picks up a stick and draws a little fire in the dirt. Then she draws a piece of meat roasting over it. "Big difference," she says dryly. "You stick out your tongue." She laughs. You wonder if this is how it happens, how the language finds its way into your bones. Not through formal lessons, but through repetition, context, mockery. Through someone like Rist bothering to correct you instead of ignoring you. At some point, the two of you just lie back in the grass, sweaty and tired, listening to the hum of summer insects. A hawk circles overhead, shadow flicking across your closed eyes. You say, "Wiaka." She nods. Then you say, "Wiaka, wia." "Young woman." "Woman." She sits up. "No, just Wiaka." "But I'm older now." She grins. Still stupid, still Wiake. You throw a pebble at her head. She dodges, laughing. Later, you find Matto poking at a dead fish with a stick. He looks up at you and announces solemnly, "Fish is dead." "Yes," you say, and smells. He nods. "Very dead." He keeps poking it. You sit beside him. "What's this one?" you ask, pointing to the fish. He puffs his chest, proud to teach you. Hogang, you repeat it. He corrects you. Twice. When you get it right, he nods once like a wise old man and goes back to poking. That night the fire burns low and slow. You sit beside Rist and Maza, combing through a pile of feathers, sorting them by colour and size. You don't ask what they're for. You already know. Decorations, gifts, trade. Say it, Rist says suddenly. You blink. What? Say something. In Lakota, you freeze. Your mind goes completely blank. You think about the sun, the river, the dog, the fish. You settle on Manishunka Ingyang. Rist looks confused for a second, then starts laughing so hard she drops all her feathers. What? You demand. Maza, struggling not to laugh herself, translates. You said, the water dog rock. I meant the dog drinks the water. Maza shakes her head. Try again. You try. And again. Eventually you string together something close to, I have one dog and one fire. It probably still sounds like, my fire owns a dog, but they let you have it. Later, when you're alone, you whisper the words to yourself over and over, like a prayer. It's the first time you've prayed since the raid. Not to your god, not really, just to whatever force is out there keeping your mind from breaking. Language is strange that way. You lose yours and it hurts. You gain another, and it makes a new room inside you. Something opens, and it won't close again. That night, you dream of your mother. She's sitting on the front porch sewing, rocking slowly, humming one of those soft old hymns, the kind that sticks in the back of your teeth. You call to her, but when she turns around, she speaks Lakota. The words make sense in the dream, but when you wake, they scatter. Only one stays behind. Mahu. Later, you ask Rist what it means. She frowns, thinks for a moment, and then says, it means to take, or to receive. Depends. You nod. You think that's fair. You've been both. It happens quietly, no fire, no announcement, just a small wordless shift that turns the air from warm and golden to cold and still. The first frost. You wake up, shivering. There's a thin film of white across the grass outside, and the edges of the hide door are stiff with ice. Your breath curls visibly in the air, and Rist is already gone from her bedroll. You roll onto your side, then back again, teeth clenched to keep them from chattering. Outside, the whole camp feels muffled, like the frost has put everything under a spell. No birds, no dogs barking, just the faint whisper of movement, moccasins on cold earth, hide flaps being lifted, low voices. You pull on your buckskin clothes, now slightly too tight from sleeping in a huddle every night. They feel like armour, stiff in the elbows, damp at the cuffs. Your moccasins are damp too, and you make a mental note to dry them better next time. At the communal fire, someone hands you a bowl of hot broth. No meat this time, just roots and herbs and grease. It's barely food, but the heat is everything. Rist appears from behind one of the lodges with a bundle in her arms. She kneels beside you and unwraps it. Inside is a fur robe. Fox or maybe raccoon. Patched in places, but still soft and thick. She holds it out. Yours. You blink. For me? She nods. Why? Her eyes flick toward the trees, toward the wind that's picking up again, then back to you. Because you'll die without it. Fair. You take it. Wrap it around yourself. The warmth hits you like a memory. Of your mother tucking quilts around your shoulders, of falling asleep beside the wood stove, of something simple and safe. You want to cry. You don't. Instead you murmur, Philamayaya. Thank you. Rist gives you a look, half pride, half smirk. You say like horse. You frown. She mimes a horse chewing. Great. Your first fluent word, and you said it like livestock. Still, the robe stays with you all day. Everyone gets quieter when the frost comes. The chores continue, but they're slower, more deliberate. You help cover the sides of the teepees with extra hides. You haul firewood from a nearby grove, stumbling under the weight, but proud not to drop it. The wind now carries real teeth, cutting into your cheeks, pricking your fingers numb. That evening, while you're tending the fire near your lodge, you see her. One of the women who stared at you that first morning, not Silver Braid. The other one, the one with the baby. She's standing just outside her own teepee, holding her child against her chest with one arm, a clay bowl in the other. Her face is streaked with something, not tears, but ash maybe. Her baby is bundled tightly, too tightly, not moving. You recognize that stillness. She walks slowly, almost floating, past the fire, past you, toward the ridge where the burials are made. No one stops her. You stand. Wrist doesn't follow, but she doesn't stop you either. You trail the woman at a distance, keeping to the edge of the trees. Your feet are freezing through the soles of your moccasins. The robe drags on the ground, collecting frost. She climbs the ridge and sets the bowl down first, then the bundle. Then she kneels beside them, saying nothing, just kneeling. And in that moment, something clicks. This isn't a ceremony. There won't be songs, there won't be fire. There will only be her, and the earth, and the silence. You step away before she turns around. That night, back by your own fire, you ask Wrist, "What happened?" She knows what you're asking, as she says nothing for a while, then finally, "The baby was too small. Born at the wrong time. The cold is stronger." You nod. She adds quieter. "Sometimes the wind wins." That night you press your face into the fur of the robe and let yourself cry, quietly. Not for the baby, not entirely, but for the sudden, suffocating weight of reality. This world doesn't wait, doesn't pause, doesn't offer explanations or justice. The wind wins, and you go on, or you don't. The next morning, Mazza finds you and says a few sharp things you don't quite understand. You catch lazy and slow. She's not angry, just practical. Everyone's working harder now. She hands you a stone blade and a stiff piece of hide. You're tanning it today, with your own hands. You've done the scraping before, but this is different. This is the whole process. You crush the brain mixture, yes, brain, and rub it into the hide. You stretch it over a wooden frame. You pull, twist, fold, repeat. The smell is awful and your hands are freezing, but you work and you finish. It's not perfect, but it's usable. Mazza grunts, impressed. Wrist smirks. "Now you're almost woman." You roll your eyes. "Maybe next moon." That evening, the fire burns hotter than usual. You sit with Wrist, Mazza, and two others whose names you still can't pronounce right. They're passing a carved pipe, smoking something that smells like sage and pine. When it comes to you, you hesitate. Wrist shrugs. Good for cold. You take a drag. It burns, but not badly. It warms your lungs like a second fire. One of the women, a small one with sharp teeth and a wicked laugh, asks you your age. You answer, haltingly in Lakota. 19, she makes a face. Old. You glare. Not as old as you. They all howl with laughter. You don't even have to translate. They got it. That night, as you lay under the robe, you go over your words again. Thank you, cold, work, fire, woman, sleep. You practice them softly, trying to smooth out the clumsy edges. Then you remember the woman with the baby, and one more word rises to your lips. Uchekia, prayer. You whisper it. Not to anyone, not in hope, just in memory. The air changes long before you see anything. It starts with the ground, vibrating. Just barely. A pulse, almost too subtle to notice. You're walking back from the ridge, where you'd helped Mazza gather bitterroot, your arms sore from bending and scraping and your back aching in places that never ached before this life. Then you hear it. A low rumble, distant but coming fast. You stop in your tracks. A woman near you, tall, wide-shouldered, carrying a child on her hip, freezes too. She tilts her head toward the sound and mutters something under her breath. A single word. Tatanka. Buffalo. Suddenly the stillness explodes. Camp becomes motion. Voices rise, not in panic, but in urgency. Teepee flaps are thrown open. Men rush from lodges, grabbing bows and lances, swinging up onto horses that have already started to dance with excitement, as if they too feel what's coming. Children are herded toward the trees. Dogs bark. Smoke from breakfast fires is kicked up in the wind of motion. Wrist grabs your wrist, fitting really, and pulls you along. Come. You don't argue. She drags you behind a line of lodges near a small rise that overlooks the wide sweep of open plain. You scramble to the top, breath catching in your throat. There, on the horizon, dark shapes. At first you think they're just rocks or shadows, but then they move. Hundreds of them, then thousands. Buffalo! You've never seen this many animals in one place before. The sight is beyond wild. It's thunder and wind and muscle and raw momentum, sweeping across the land in a dark, rolling mass. Their grunts rise like drumbeats. Their hooves strike the earth like war. The men are ready. Painted and armed, mounted on fast ponies, they circle to flank the herd. Redcord is there. You recognize his silhouette instantly. He sits tall, bow across his lap, his face streaked in black and red. There are no orders shouted, no flags, no signal horns, just a cry. One voice, sharp and high, then they move. You've seen men ride before, farmhands, traders, cavalry units even once. But this is something else entirely. This is flight, fury, ritual. The riders race toward the herd, not away from it. They charge straight into the chaos like it's something sacred. The ground shakes beneath your feet. You press your palm to the earth and feel the hooves pound the heartbeat of the land. From your spot on the ridge, you watch the hunt unfold. Horses weave like dancers, agile and precise. Arrows fly, thin, almost invisible, then sink deep. The buffaloes stumble, fall, crash into one another, and the herd surges around them like a tide. Dust fills the air in plumes. Cries and bellows clash like a symphony gone mad. One buffalo breaks from the group and charges toward the ridge. You gasp. It veers off at the last second, hooves carving into the earth, flanks heaving. You see its eyes for a flash, wide, rolling, as if it too is aware of the poetry of death in this moment. You lose track of time. The dust settles slowly. The sounds fade into snorts and soft steps. Riders begin to return, trailing the edges of the field. Some lead injured horses. One man cradles a bloody arm. Another limps on foot, leading his pony by the reins. The dead buffalo lie scattered like monuments. Wrist touches your shoulder. Come. You follow her down the ridge, across the trampled grass into the aftermath. The women are already there, with knives, with baskets, with purpose. No one cries, no one mourns. This is not slaughter. This is survival and reverence. You are handed a blade. Help. You hesitate. The buffalo is enormous. Its fur is matted with blood. Its eyes still open. You want to close them, but that feels wrong. You press the knife into its hide. You don't know what you're doing, but wrist shows you, guides your hands. Together you strip the hide, cut the meat, carve deep around the joints. The body steams in the cold air. Your hands are soaked in blood. The smell is thick and raw, but it doesn't repulse you the way you thought it would. This animal was everything. Food, shelter, tool, symbol. And now, it's part of you. Later you help carry bundles back to camp. Your arms scream. Your feet slip in blood, but you keep going. Inside the teepee, the meat is sorted, hung, dried. The hides are spread to stretch and tan. That night, as the fire's crackle and smoke hangs heavy in the lodge, you sit beside Wrist and watch her stitch a new pouch from buffalo bladder. First time? She asks. You nod. She doesn't tease you this time. Instead, she says, My first hunt I cried. I was younger than you, couldn't stop. What changed? She shrugs. I got hungry. You sleep hard that night, blood under your nails, the scent of buffalo thick in your nose. You dream of hooves pounding, of arrows slicing air, of something ancient and impossible. In the dream you're running with them, not riding, running. Your hands are hooves, your breath is smoke. You don't know where you're going, just that you won't stop and not for anything. In the morning, you rise early again. There's still work to be done. Meat to hang, bones to boil, tendons to strip into thread. You take your blade and start carving. No one tells you to, no one watches, and that's how you know. You belong, at least for now. It starts as a quiet disagreement, the kind you wouldn't even notice unless you'd been here a while. You're weaving sinew thread beside the lodge, warm in your fur robe, wrists aching, when two voices rise nearby, not in anger exactly, but with the sharpness of pride and tension wrapped together. Red Cord and another man, younger, with a feathered braid and a scar across his cheek. You don't know his name yet, but you've seen him before. He's loud, cocky, the kind who walks like the ground should feel lucky to hold him up. He's always surrounded by his cousins, always laughing too hard, tossing glances your way that make your skin crawl. Not with fear, but something colder. Evaluation. A look that says mine long before anything has been offered. Today he's standing too close to Red Cord, gesturing toward the centre of camp. You follow their line of sight. They're arguing about you. Of course they are. You try to go invisible, but you've been in this camp too long to pretend you're not watching. Wrist appears beside you like she always does when something's about to go sideways. She drops to her knees, starts working on a bundle of dried herbs like she's just here for the smell, but her eyes are sharp. You whisper, What's happening? She exhales slowly. They are deciding who owns you. Your stomach knots. Owns? She shrugs. You were taken. That means someone has to be responsible, or you cause problems. Like a horse. Like a stranger, she corrects. No name, no home. A floating branch. The tribe does not like floating branches. You watch Redcord say something low and firm. The younger man's jaw tenses. His cousins step closer. Just shadows. Not a fight yet, but not far from one either. Do I get a say? You ask. Rist gives you a look. You want a say? You pause. That's not a yes or no question. Not really. I want to not be passed around like a pot of stew. Rist nods. Then you better learn how to be heavy. What does that mean? Hard to carry, hard to drop. You look back at Redcord. The fight ends without hands thrown, but not without a winner. The younger man, Scarcheek, walks away, his shoulders stiff. Redcord watches him go, then turns to you. He nods once, then disappears. You don't feel relieved, just delayed. That night, there's a small gathering around the central fire. Not a ceremony, not a party, just a meeting of minds, you think. Elders, older warriors, a few of the older women, people who make decisions. You're not invited, but no one tells you to leave either. Rhys sits beside you, arms folded, expression unreadable. One of the women from the gathering, Silverbraid, calls your name. Not Anna, but your Lakota name. You've heard it once or twice now. Zinkala Sapa. Blackbird. You don't know where it came from. Maybe the way you watch. Maybe the colour of your eyes. Maybe a joke you weren't there for. But it's yours now. You stand, unsure what to do with your hands, your feet, your eyes. Silverbraid speaks. Not to you, about you. You catch a few words. Taken. Responsibility. Protection. Honour. Then another voice. Mazza's. Firm, clear. She says your name with pride. Rist leans in and whispers, she's vouching for you. Then Redcord speaks. He doesn't look at you. He doesn't raise his voice. But everyone listens. Even the children crawling around in the dust go quiet. You hear your name again. The real one. Anna. And that word, Wuwaching. Choice. It takes a moment for it to register. They're asking you. You don't speak at first. Can't. Your mouth is dry. Your thoughts scattered. Then you find your voice. It's small, but it's yours. You step forward. I don't belong to anyone, Rhys translates. You don't know exactly what words she chooses, but they make the crowd murmur. Then you add, but I will stay, if I'm allowed. Rhys hesitates, then says it. The fire crackles. Silverbraid nods. One of the older men grunts approvingly. Redcord doesn't smile, but he stands, then walks away. Later that night you sit with Rist by your own fire. No one comes to bother you. No one questions you. You said no, she says. You nod. You surprised them. You look at her. You told me to be heavy. Rist grins. You are rock now. Still, Scarcheek doesn't leave you alone. You feel his eyes on you at meals, at the river, during chores. You catch him talking with others, voice low, laughing. One day he drops a carved feather on your bedroll. It's beautiful. You throw it into the fire. He doesn't come near after that. The next morning, Mazza hands you a needle and points to a half-finished blanket. It's decorated with geometric patterns, triangles, circles, lines, all stitched in reds and blues and blacks. She points to a spot and says, your mark. You blink. I don't have a mark, she shrugs. Then make one. You stare at the fabric for a long time. Then you choose a tiny shape, a bird, one stitch at a time. Rhys sees it later and smirks. Not floating anymore. You shake your head. No, flying. It starts with singing, low at first, barely more than a hum, and so rhythmic you almost don't notice it until it's been going for a while. You're bent over a bowl of drying meat, sorting thin strips and laying them out like tiny wrinkled garments when it drifts through the air. The sound has weight to it, like it was always there, and the wind just pulled back the curtain for you to hear it. You glance toward the centre of camp. The lodge poles are going up. It's not just a teepee, it's something different, taller, wider, painted with white ochre and ringed with red handprints. This one's meant for ceremony. You've seen smaller gatherings before, singing around the fire, women painting their faces, the soft hum of chants at sunrise. But this is larger, intentional. You watch as elders arrive, women with feathers tucked into their braids, men whose hair has turned entirely silver, the kind of people who don't need to say a word to own the space they stand in. The children are ushered away. Even Matto's face goes serious as he runs after the others toward the ridge. No one explains anything to you, but no one tells you to stay away either. That's invitation enough. You follow the movement toward the big lodge, curiosity thrumming like a second heartbeat. Wrist intercepts you, her face unreadable. She says something quick, too fast for you to catch, but then she sees your confusion and sighs, switching to slower speech. It is a Wiwanyank Wachipi. You blink. A what? She rolls her eyes. A ceremony for seeing. A woman's dream. Her vision is for everyone now. Your eyebrows lift. You've heard the word vision used in stories, mostly by missionaries trying to discredit native beliefs. They said things like hallucination or devil's whisper. But the way Riss says it, it sounds powerful, sacred, like something you earn, not something that happens to you by accident. Riss adjusts your hair, pulls a loose braid tighter, and motions for you to follow. Inside the large lodge, the air is thick with sage smoke and heat. The walls are covered in painted hide, animals, stars, handprints, and circles you don't understand but instinctively respect. People sit in a large ring, knees tucked under robes, heads bowed in quiet reverence. In the centre, a fire burns low, sending up lazy spirals of smoke that twist like spirits into the roof of the lodge. You sit beside Wrist, barely breathing. Then she enters. The woman. She's not young. Probably older than Maza. Maybe even silver braid. Her hair is streaked with white, braided in 4 sections and tied with a red cord. Her face is painted, not in the wild streaks of warriors or the soft dabs of children, but in symmetrical lines. One across the eyes, one across the mouth, another down the chin. She wears a robe that seems to shimmer. The beadwork's so fine it looks like light stitched into leather. When she speaks, no one moves. She tells the vision. You can't understand the words, not all of them, but you catch pieces. Eagle, water, fire without smoke, a woman carrying 2 bundles, a forked tree that speaks. Each time she finishes a sentence, the crowd murmurs in response like a low echo rolling through the space. Someone begins to sing. A drum joins in. Then she begins to dance. It's not like the war dances you've seen. This one is slower. A spiral. Her hands raise and lower like wings, and the firelight catches the beads on her robe, casting tiny flashes of light across the hides. You are transfixed. She moves like the vision is still inside her, like the spirit hasn't quite let go yet. At one point her eyes meet yours, just for a second, and you feel something. A current. A weight. Like she's seen through you, past your skin, into something you didn't even know was hiding. Then the song ends, and the lodge is silent. People begin to rise slowly, filing out without words, as if anything spoken now would break something fragile and important. You stay seated. Riss stays beside you. She saw the woman in the vision, she says softly, with 2 bundles. One was fire, the other was sorrow. You glance at her. Was it you? You ask. She shakes her head. No, not me. You say nothing, but your chest feels too full. Later that night, by your own fire, you pick up your beaded pouch and turn it over in your hands. You think of the vision, the bundles, the spiral, the fire without smoke. You don't know what any of it means, but you know this much. Something in that ceremony cracked a door open. Not just for the tribe, for you. You feel changed, and you're not even sure by what. You stand, robe pulled tight around your shoulders, and walk away from the lodge, past the trees, toward the ridge where the stars feel closer. There you speak aloud, softly to the wind. You tell it your name, not the one they gave you, not even the one you were born with, just the one you're becoming. In the morning, Maza asks you to fetch water. You go without a word. At the riverbank you find a feather, long, black, glossy, still. You pick it up, and without thinking, slide it into your braid. It feels like a beginning. They start calling you a new name, not behind your back, not as a joke, out loud, in the open, and not just Wrist or Maza or mischievous little Matto with his endless teasing. The children say it when you pass. The elders murmur it when discussing chores or sharing food. Redcord says it once quietly, as he hands you a blade to help carve meat. Zintkala Sapa, blackbird. It sticks. You don't know when it happened exactly. Maybe after the hunt. Maybe after the ceremony. Maybe the moment you stopped trying to peel your old self off and just started being. Either way, your name now floats in the same rhythm as the others, no longer separate. no longer the white girl or Wiaka, just Zintkala Sapa, just Blackbird. You're not sure if you earned it, but you know better than to hand it back. Names here are not just labels, they're stories. People are named after animals they resemble, events they survived, dreams they were given. Some names come at birth, some later. Some are changed when a person changes. It's not like back home where names are locked into stone before you even take your first breath. Here, names are alive, and this one has found you. Still, there's a part of you that wonders, who started it? Who first called you Blackbird? Wrist won't say. She just grins when you ask. You're small and loud, she teases, and you never stop watching. Fair. Later you sit with Marza, helping stitch a blanket thick enough for snow. You ask her about your name. She glances at you, then at the sky. Blackbirds are clever, she says, and they live in 2 worlds. You nod. You don't have to ask which 2. Matto starts calling you Zintkala all the time now, and every time he does, he says it dramatically like it's your warrior title. Zintkala, come see what I found. Zintkala, there's a squirrel with no tail. Zintkala, I'm dying. I need food. Immediately. You threaten to throw rocks at him. He throws pine cones back. It's an arrangement that works. You've started dreaming in Lakota. Not the whole dream, but pieces of it. A word here, a phrase there. The other night you dreamt you were walking through snow and the wind whispered, "We're watching," over and over. Desire and intention. Choice. You woke with that word in your mouth and the feeling of something unfinished in your chest. One morning, you find yourself standing at the edge of the camp watching the horses. You do this often now. There's something calming about them. The way they flick their tails, the way their ears twitch to every tiny sound. One of the young girls, no older than 10, rides bareback in wide, lazy circles, hair streaming behind her like a banner. You could never have done that, not even as a kid. Scarcheek is there too, brushing one of the ponies with practiced ease. He still won't speak to you directly, but you feel him watching. His silence isn't just distance, it's calculation. Like he's still waiting for something. You ignore him and turn to go, but one of the horses, a mare speckled and calm, follows you. Not far, just a few steps. You stop. So does she. You extend a hand. She sniffs it, then nudges your palm with her velvet nose. You don't know her name, but she knows you now. That's enough. That evening, Wrist takes your hand without warning and pulls you behind one of the teepees. You expect a chore, maybe another language lesson, but she just stands there smiling. Then she hands you something, a pouch, smaller than the one around your neck, made of soft deer hide, tied with a red thread. It smells faintly of sage and smoke. Inside, charcoal, crushed berries, dried flower petals, paint. You make your own face now, she says. You blink. Me? She nods. No more child. You don't know what to say, so you take it. That night, you sit in the fading light near the fire, staring into the pouch, fingers dipping into its contents like it's sacred. And maybe it is. You think about what kind of lines you'd draw. Not the ones the women wear for ceremony. Not the bold streaks of warriors. Something quieter. You take a sliver of polished bone and use it to press a thin line along your jaw. Another under each eye, not to transform your face, but to claim it. Wrist sees you the next morning and nods once. Not a compliment. Not approval. Recognition. You look like someone, she says. You raise an eyebrow. Who? She shrugs. You. Later, Redcord approaches you while you're sharpening bone needles. He kneels across from you. Not too close. Not threatening. He says your name. Your real name. Zintkala Sapa. You nod. He holds out something small. Folded hide. A strip of rawhide cord. Inside, a shell. Pale pink. Unusual here. He says, for your pouch. You take it. He leaves. Nothing more. You tuck the shell inside your beaded pouch and close the flap. It rests beside the old bead. The sliver of bone. The herb bundle Wrist gave you when you were sick. And now this, your own history, pieced together in leather and string. That night you sit by the fire with Mazza and Wrist, watching sparks twist into the sky. Mazza asks, do you miss your old name? You pause, think. No, you say. And it's true. You miss people. You miss sounds. You miss your sisters singing and the smell of yeast rising in the kitchen. But your name? Number. Your name is here now. It lives in the mouths of others. It sings in the wind. It sits in your chest like a second heart. It may not have been your choice in the beginning, but you've made it yours. They arrive without warning, as they always do. Dust first, then noise, then the sharp clink of something that doesn't belong. Metal. Voices speaking not quite English, not quite French, and not Lakota either. Somewhere in the muddy centre, traders. The entire energy of camp changes the moment they appear. You're returning from the river with wrist, arms sore from hauling water, when you hear the first shout, a young boy sprinting through the lodges, barefoot and breathless, yelling something that sets off a wave of motion. People rise, dogs bark, children cluster behind their mothers, elders sit up straighter. Wrist looks at you, no words, just that expression, stay close. So you do. The traders ride in under a cloud of horse sweat and iron stink. 3 of them. One's bearded and paunchy, with a rifle slung lazily across his back. One wears a stovepipe hat, like he's still clinging to some last shred of gentility despite the mud on his boots. The last is lean and young, with a scar slicing across his lip, and a stare that drifts over every face like he's shopping. They dismount slowly, making a show of being unafraid. You hate them immediately. They speak to Redcord first, offering greetings in rough Lakota, spiked with trade slang and frontier idiocy. Redcord doesn't smile. A crowd forms, not close, but close enough. You hang back beside Wrist, trying to appear smaller, duller, like background noise. But one of the traders, Scarlip, spots you. His eyes narrow and then widen. He steps forward. "White girl," he says, in a voice too loud to be casual. "Holy hell, you speak English!" Wrist stiffens beside you. You freeze. For a moment, your brain does a stupid, dangerous thing. It leaps. He speaks your language. He's white. He could take you back. He could write down your name, tell someone, deliver a letter, something, anything. But then you see the way he's looking at you. Not like a rescuer, like a bounty hunter, like someone doing mental math on your worth. He takes another step. "You've been here long?" You glance at Wrist. She looks calm. Too calm. Scarlip turns to Redcord and says something in broken Lakota. "Washichu wiaka, thecha, feji." Words you half understand. "White girl, young woman, trade. He's offering something. For you." And just like that, every bit of air disappears from your chest. This is not rescue. This is auction. Your skin burns. You feel 14 again. Powerless. Itemized. Redcord doesn't answer immediately. His eyes are on you now. So is everyone else's. You want to speak, you want to scream, you want to vanish. Then Wrist steps in front of you and says something sharp. Not loud, not angry, but final. Scarlip laughs like it's all a misunderstanding, like he didn't just try to buy a woman in front of a fire pit. Then he spits into the dirt and moves on. The rest of the day is tense. Traders mean resources, tobacco, beads, sometimes tools, but they also mean stories and rumours and the chaos of the outside world scraping against the edge of camp life. You sit quietly beside the lodge as trade goes on. You watch hides exchange hands and beadwork and bundles of dried meat. You spot one of the men slide a bottle of something into another man's satchel. Redcord sees it too, but says nothing, a storm in his jaw. Marza leans down beside you at one point and says, "You were not for sale." You try to thank her. She shakes her head. "Do not thank us for basic things." That night, Wrist hands you something wrapped in deer hide. You open it. A knife. The handle is carved from antler, smooth and warm. The blade isn't large, but it's sharp, expertly shaped from flint. You look at her, confused. She says, "So you never wait for someone else," and you grip it tight. Later, alone in the lodge, you hold the knife in your lap, turning it over, tracing the carved patterns along the handle. Waves and feathers, maybe. You don't know. You press the edge lightly to your thumb. It bites, just enough to wake you. You think about what would have happened if Redcord had hesitated, if Wrist hadn't spoken, if that man had offered the right price. You'd be gone. Again, and not all stories end in rescue, and most don't. You find Redcord the next day, not to thank him, not to bow your head in obedience, just to ask, "Why didn't you trade me?" He studies you, then says, "Because you're not his." You wait for more. None comes. You nod. That's enough. The traders leave that afternoon, trailing dust and whispers. You stand beside Wrist as they vanish into the horizon. I thought I wanted to leave, you say. She shrugs. Maybe you did. I don't know anymore. She grins. That means you're staying. Later, Matto catches up to you carrying a twisted piece of wood. He waves it like a sword. If traders come back, I protect you. You? With a stick? I'm fierce!
Nah.
He swings it dramatically and smacks himself in the shin. You pretend not to laugh. Very fierce. You still keep the real knife under your pillow, just in case. The skies are bruised purple when you wake to the sound of galloping hooves and someone screaming your name, not your old one, not Anna, but Zintkala, repeated over and over like an alarm bell. You sit up fast, tangled in hides, disoriented. Wrist crashes through the lodge flap, breathless, hair loose, eyes sharp. Come, now. You don't ask. You just run. The air outside is full of smoke, not the cooking kind, but something heavier, hotter, rolling in dark ribbons across the camp. Shouts echo between the lodges. Dogs howl. Horses cry out in alarm. Someone's yelling about the ridge, someone else about blood. Wrist pulls you toward the commotion, and as you crest the low rise at the edge of camp, you see it. A body, a man, face down in the dirt, shirt torn, blood pooled under him, soaking into the cracked earth. One arm is twisted unnaturally. His hair is matted with blood and dust. Another figure crouches beside him, red cord. He doesn't look up. His hands are covered in blood. You know instantly that this man is dead. More figures gather, whispering, watching. You spot Maza, standing stiff, arms crossed over her chest, face unreadable. Matto is there too, clutching a small bundle of sticks like a weapon, wide-eyed and confused. Wrist mutters, scouts or soldiers, blue coats maybe, or another tribe. They don't know. This one rode ahead. You ask, was he alone? She shakes her head. No, there will be more. Your throat tightens. This is it. The outside world crashing back in. You thought you could stay hidden in the folds of deer hide and fire smoke. You thought you were safe because no one said your name wrong anymore. But this blood says otherwise. The men return slowly, not all of them. 3 are missing. One is the boy who carved his name into a tree near the river last week. Another is Silverbraid's son. The third was someone's brother. They all had names. They all laughed once. Now they're gone. The surviving warriors speak quietly. Something about horse tracks. A group, maybe half a dozen, moving through the trees, watching, waiting. No clear sign whether they were soldiers, rival scouts, or just desperate men. But whoever they were, they're close enough to matter. That afternoon, the camp changes. Shields are hung, horses are tied tighter, children are kept inside. Even the fires burn lower, the smoke drawn down by tension. You help Wrist pack dried meat into bags made of bladder and hide. Emergency food, she tells you, for movement, for survival. You're handed a spear, not for hunting, and you hold it awkwardly, the weight wrong, the balance strange. Wrist says, try not to stab yourself. You're not allowed near the perimeter, but you see enough. Red cord is everywhere, walking the camp, checking weapons, speaking with elders. His face is stone, unreadable. When he passes you, he nods once. It means, still here. You nod back, same meaning. At sundown, the drum beats begin, not for dancing, for warning. A rhythm, slow and deep like a heartbeat echoing underground. You feel it in your chest, in your throat. It says be ready. Women gather near the central fire. The older ones begin speaking, soft stories, remembrances, not mourning yet, but close. One woman plucks a feather from her braid and tosses it into the flames. Her son, Riss says. You don't ask which one. You just sit beside her, silent, clutching your knees. The fire crackles. The smoke is sweet with sage. Someone starts to sing. You recognize the melody from the vision ceremony. This time it sounds like goodbye. That night the men return, all of them. You don't understand at first. You just see movement, hear voices, then laughter. Not joy, relief. The threat is gone. Gone, for now. The scout group, whoever they were, never approached. Disappeared. Maybe they saw too much strength. Maybe they didn't want the fight. Maybe they were ghosts. But the fear lingers. 3 dead still means 3 gone. No celebration, just breath. Redcord kneels near the fire, places a stone in the coals, then walks away without a word. You ask Wrist. What does that mean? She says, it means we live, but not without cost. In the days that follow, there's a burial, not in the settler way. No boxes, no crosses, no speeches about salvation or sin. Just a raised platform built from poles and branches, high enough to keep the animals away. The bodies are wrapped in hides. Offerings are placed beside them. Food, feathers, a child's wooden horse. You're allowed to climb the ridge and watch. Riss stands beside you, holding a bundle of sage. She burns it slowly, whispering something low under her breath. You don't ask what. You whisper too. You don't know if it counts, but you whisper anyway. Later, you're asked to help bury a spear. Not burn, not hang, bury. Maza explains. It carried death. It must return to the earth. You walk with her past the edge of camp, toward the river bend where the earth is soft. You dig with your hands. The soil is cold, dark, filled with the scent of roots and old water. You lay the spear down carefully like a body. Maza says nothing. Neither do you. But you both press your palms into the dirt when the hole is filled. Not to bury the past, just to acknowledge it. That night you sit beside the fire with Rist. Neither of you speaks. You're both staring into the coals when she finally says, "It will happen again." You nod. "I know." She looks at you. "Are you ready?" You grip the pouch around your neck. Inside, the shell, the herb, the red bead, a sliver of obsidian from the spear burial. You say, "Not yet." She smiles faintly. "That's honest." Then hands you a knife. Another one, slightly bigger and heavier. "Then get ready." It's cold again. The kind that wraps around your fingers like wet cloth and doesn't let go. Your breath fogs the air in front of you, curling around the inside of the lodge as you press your hands to the warm side of the fire pit, trying to wake them up. Your fingers have turned into sticks, the kind that splinter. The men are gone, hunting, scouting, something else no one told you about. They left at first light, quiet, focused, not looking back. Red cord among them, not even a nod this time, just the sound of hooves on frost and the hush that followed. Riss stays behind, so does Maza. So do the women who don't ride but know how to keep life stitched together while others chase meat or shadows. You've been assigned to water duty. Again. A bone bucket, frozen rope, and a path down to the stream slick with ice. The perfect way to earn a broken hip. But you go, because everyone goes when they're told. That's how it works here. You reach the stream, set the bucket down and kneel carefully. The water's still moving, but just barely. Ice crusts the edges, and the air above it bites your face. You dip the bucket in. Your hands scream. You yank them out, teeth clenched, and press them under your armpits. For a minute, you feel very stupid for not running away that day the traders came. You think, I could be warm right now, somewhere with walls. Then you think, I'd also be owned. The bucket's full now. You start the long, slippery walk back, and halfway there you spot her. The old woman. You've seen her before. She rarely speaks. Her name is whispered with respect. Her face is folded like a map, and her hair is still long, silver as the frost beneath your feet. She's standing near the edge of the ridge, one hand on a crooked stick, eyes turned toward the sky. You don't want to interrupt her, but she calls you over anyway. You set the bucket down and walk slowly. She turns to you, tilts her head, and says something in Lakota. You catch the word for cold, then bones, then stars. Then she points to the sky. It's still early, pale blue, empty. You look at her, confused. She mimes something with her hands, sweeping, twirling, fingers pointed. You recognize the shape, constellations. You smile faintly. You see them during the day? She chuckles, then sits down, motions for you to join her, so you do. She speaks, slowly. And even though you only understand pieces, her voice paints pictures. She tells you stories. Of buffalo stars, of the white trail the spirits walk across the sky, what your people call the Milky Way, of twins who were turned into stars for betraying their own people, of a woman who swallowed fire and now shines forever, watching those who forget. And then she tells you something about a bird, a black one. Your ears prick. You know it's about you. She looks at you, lays a hand on your shoulder and says your name, not just the tribal one, but the one she's chosen. She calls you Zintkala Luta, red blackbird, the colour of blood and feather, of survival or of warning, of something small that still refuses to be eaten. You nod, stunned. Then you point to her. She smirks. Sungwiaka, fox feather. She's testing you. You say it back, slowly, carefully. She nods once, then leans back against a rock and closes her eyes. You sit beside her for a while, just breathing, just existing. It's the first time in a while you've felt like time isn't chasing you, just holding you. Later, you return to camp with the bucket. Your hands are numb, your heart is not. You tell Wrist what happened. She raises an eyebrow. She gave you a name? You nod. Wrist whistles. That's no small thing. I know. She does not waste words. I know that too. That night, the old woman visits the lodge where you sleep. She doesn't say much, just sits beside the fire, smokes a long pipe, and hums to herself. Wrist and Maza sit nearby, listening. No one speaks. Just the crackle of coals and the deep, slow rhythm of breath and memory. Then she begins to speak. This time, everyone listens. She tells the story of when the stars fell, not in fire, in silence. One by one, she says, they vanished. People forgot their names, forgot the dances, forgot the meanings. And in that darkness, the world grew cold. But one bird remembered the way, carried the spark in its beak, not for itself, but to keep others alive. She glances at you once, and then continues. When she finishes, she leans forward, takes a piece of coal from the fire and draws a symbol on the hide floor. A small circle, surrounded by 4 straight lines, north, south, east, west. Then a bird at the centre. No one asks what it means, because they already know. You sleep with that image in your head, and dream of birds, one flying across a frozen river, dropping sparks onto the ice to melt a path, another resting in the crook of a tree, watching a sky that never stops changing, and one more, nesting in your chest, wings folded, heart steady, still small, but no longer afraid. You've been thinking about it for days, testing it in your mind like a sawtooth, turning the thought over, holding it up to the firelight inside your head to see what it really looks like. You even dreamt about it, once, briefly, your feet slipping quietly over the grass, breath held, horizon widening with every step. Escape. The word used to live in your bones like a prayer. Now it just tastes confusing. But it doesn't stop the idea from clawing its way back to the surface. You wake early. Not for chores, not because you were called, but because your body won't let you stay. There's too much noise in your chest. Wrist is still sleeping, curled in her usual half-fetal sprawl, blanket around her shoulders, one foot sticking out like a stubborn child. She doesn't move as you rise. You don't bother packing anything. You don't take food or water. You just walk, out of the lodge, out of the ring of teepees, out past the tethered horses and the low fire that always smokes no matter the hour, and no one stops you. The land stretches wide in every direction. Frost still coats the low grass and your moccasins grow damp with every step. Your breath curls in front of you like smoke. You move fast at first, not quite running, but close, just enough to feel your legs burn and your heart lurch. The camp disappears behind a ridge. That's when it hits you. There's no plan. You didn't bring the knife Wrist gave you. You didn't chart a course. You don't even know which direction leads to anything familiar. Just a vague hope that somewhere out there, past all this silence, is a road. Or a farmhouse. Or a cabin with someone kind inside. You keep walking, but the further you go, the louder your doubts become. What if you're already going in circles? What if the frost turns to snow? What if the thing you're walking toward isn't freedom, but death? You stop at a small rise and look out across the prairie. It's endless. A dull gold sea under a grey sky speckled with black shrubs and bare trees. There's no sound but wind. You turn around. Camp is nowhere in sight. For the first time in weeks, you're alone. No children yelling. No women sorting herbs. No fire crackling. No smell of smoke in your hair. Where it should feel free, it doesn't. It feels like the edge of a cliff. You sit down, hard. You didn't mean to cry, but here it comes. Tears slip down your face, warm and quiet. Not a breakdown, not a collapse, just grief. A quiet one. The kind that knows you're not running to anything anymore. You are only running from, and that's not enough. You don't know how long you sit there. Long enough for your feet to go numb, long enough for the clouds to shift and the sun to stab through like a guilty afterthought. And then, hoofbeats, distant, faint. You listen carefully, then see it. One rider, small against the horizon, but getting closer. Your heart jumps. You stand, unsure whether to run or wave or disappear into the grass. The rider comes fast, hooves slicing over frozen dirt, dust trailing behind. It's not Redcord, it's Wrist. Of course it is. She doesn't slow as she approaches, just pulls the horse beside you, reaches down, grabs your arm and yanks you up onto the back of the pony with a grunt that's half annoyance, half, "What the hell were you thinking?" You nearly fall off. "Hi," you manage. She doesn't answer, just turns the pony and kicks it into motion. The ride back is silent. Wrist doesn't speak. You don't ask her to. Her grip is iron on the reins, her mouth a tight line. You grip her waist and try not to bounce off the pony's hindquarters as it moves. When you reach camp, no one is watching. Or they're pretending not to. Wrist doesn't take you to the fire or the lodge. She takes you behind the teepees, where no one can hear, then finally turns to you. "I should leave you out there," she snaps. You say nothing. You had no food, no water, no direction. You were going to die, Zintkarla. "I didn't know where I was going," you say, voice small. She scoffs. "Then why walk?" You don't answer. She steps closer. "What did you think you would find?" You whisper, "Home." Wrist's eyes soften. Barely. "You don't know what home is anymore." You swallow. "I know. That's the problem." For a long moment she says nothing. Then she turns and walks away. You stand there cold, empty-handed, full of shame you can't quite name. But also something else. You made a choice, you went out there, and you came back. That night you sit by the fire, silent. Matto sits beside you, humming to himself as he carves a stick. He looks up at you. "You ran away?" You nod. He points at the fire. "Did you find it?" "What?" "Whatever it was." You stare at the flames. "No," you say, "but I think it's still out there." He nods, as if that makes perfect sense, then tosses his carving into the flames. "Maybe it will find you first," he says, then runs off. Wrist joins you later, sits beside you, hands you something. Dried meat, wrapped in cloth, tied with string. "Next time you run," she says, "take a lunch." You laugh, and it hurts in a good way. You start walking differently. Not on purpose at first, just little things, stepping more from the balls of your feet, placing your heels lightly so they don't thud. You're quieter now, without even trying to be. Your legs move with the ground, not against it. You no longer fight the wind or the slope or the slush that forms in the early morning thaw. You just move through it. It's Wrist who points it out. You walk like someone who knows where they are. You glance at her. "I don't." She shrugs. "Doesn't matter. You look like you do. And maybe that's the difference now. The body always knows before the mind catches up. You don't stumble as much. You don't trip over roots or snarl your robe in branches. Your hands no longer tremble in the morning when you first touch cold water. Your back doesn't ache from long hours sitting cross-legged. And your skin, once pale and soft, now holds the golden bronze of the open sky, stretched over muscle built from hauling, scraping, stitching, lifting, walking. You're not strong exactly. Not like the women who carried children while dragging firewood on their backs, but you're not fragile anymore either. That afternoon, Wrist asks you to help fetch wood from the high ridge. You've gone before, but only at the edge, never all the way to the top. Today, you go higher, past the familiar trees, past the stone outcropping where Matto once claimed to see a bear. It was a goat, badly shaped. Past even the line of broken rocks where the old woman, Foxfeather, sits when she doesn't want to be found. You go higher still, and at the top you see the world, the camp, in miniature. Tiny smoke threads rising from distant lodges. The frozen river, glinting like a cracked mirror. Beyond that, nothing but land. Pale yellow hills sloping gently into the far horizon, the curve of the earth just barely visible. You sit, because standing seems disrespectful. Wrist sits beside you, silent. For a while you don't speak, then she says, "You're not running anymore," you nod. "I tried. I came back." She watches the horizon. "Many try." "Do they come back?" "Some." You hesitate. "Did you?" Wrist's mouth twitches. "Twice." You blink. "Really?" She shrugs. "First time I was 8. I followed a dog for 3 hours, got lost, cried, climbed into a tree and fell asleep. What happened? My grandmother found me, hit me with a stick." You snort. "And the second time?" She doesn't answer right away, then, "My mother died. I didn't want to stay in a world without her. So I walked. Didn't tell anyone." "And?" I walked until the world scared me more than the grief did. Then I walked back. You're quiet a moment. Then say, "That's kind of beautiful." She glances sideways. "It was also very stupid." Fair. You gather wood. Dry branches from the windward side of the ridge. A few fallen logs still brittle enough to break by hand. Your arms grow tired fast, but you don't complain. Wrist hums softly as she works. Not a song you know, but one that sits easily in the air. As you head back, the wind picks up, not hard, not biting, just steady. Enough to lift your braids from your shoulders, enough to make the trees whisper secrets you'll never understand. You find yourself smiling, not for any reason. Just because you're walking down a hill with a woman who once saved your life by shoving you onto a pony and now lets you carry half the wood. That means something. Back at camp, the smell of roasted root fills the air. You drop the bundle beside the fire and sit, catching your breath. Marza tosses you a chunk of tuber wrapped in hide. "You look like you earned this." You tear into it with your teeth, not even pretending to be civilized. Wrist sits across from you, watching. You pause. "What?" She shakes her head. Nothing. But the corners of her mouth curve just enough. You realize this is what approval looks like from her. A silence that doesn't weigh anything. Later that night, you lie awake staring at the teepee ceiling. The stars are out, glowing faintly through the smoke hole. You hear someone singing softly in the distance. A lullaby, maybe, or a prayer. You reach into your pouch and run your fingers over each item. The red bead, the shell, the shard of bone, the charcoal pinch of burned sage, and the feather. Matto gave it to you 2 days ago, pulled from the back of his own doll. To keep your thoughts from flying away, he'd said, you hold it all, not out of fear, but to remember that you didn't start here. And still, here you are. The next morning, you join the women hauling fresh water, and one of the younger girls offers you a carved ladle without being told. Another lets you walk ahead, not behind. You wonder when that changed. You wonder how long it took. You don't ask, you just take your place. Because now you walk like someone who's expected. You don't even hear him coming. You're sitting by the fire with Marza, hands numb and red from peeling bitterroot, listening to her explain, very slowly for your benefit, the difference between two plants that look exactly the same, but one makes you vomit and the other keeps babies from crying. You nod like you understand, you don't. And then he's there. Not Redcord, the other one. Scarcheek, the man who once offered a feather you threw into a fire. The one who used to watch you like you were a thing to be bargained over. He stands across the fire now, silent, expression unreadable. Marza goes quiet. Her hands stop moving, but she doesn't look up. You look up instead, and immediately wish you hadn't. There's something new in his eyes. Not hunger, not mockery, recognition. Like he's noticed that the lines of your jaw have tightened, your skin has darkened, and you don't flinch when men speak anymore. Like he's seeing someone he didn't expect to survive. And now he's interested again. He says your name, your new one, Zintkalasapa. You don't answer. He repeats it, louder. This time you meet his eyes. Wrist arrives before you can speak. She doesn't say anything, just drops down beside you. Calm, controlled, her body making it clear that whatever is happening, it isn't. Scarcheek shifts, scowls, mutters something under his breath and walks away. Marza resumes peeling. Wrist picks up a root, starts slicing. The fire pops. No one mentions it again. But the next morning, you find something outside your lodge. A strip of leather, beaded, folded around a single black feather. At first you think it's a gift. Then you realize what it really is. A claim, a statement. You snatch it up, walk straight to the fire where Wrist is roasting meat, and drop it in without a word. She watches it curl and blacken. Doesn't speak, doesn't ask, just nods. Later you find out from Marza what it meant. If you had accepted it, she says, you'd belong to him. You swallow. And now? Now he knows you don't. Will he try again? Maybe, she shrugs, but you won't be alone. That night, you can't sleep. You lie awake staring at the flap of the lodge, half expecting to hear footsteps, feel a shadow crawl across the wall. You keep your knife tucked under your furs. You grip it until your palm aches. You think of what he saw when he looked at you. Not a woman, not a name, but a possession. Something that could be taken, worn, broken. It makes you feel small, then angry, Then something else. You rise before dawn, quiet, careful. You walk out to the trees with your pouch around your neck and the knife in your belt. You pick a spot near the ridge, and you practice. You slice the air in front of you, again and again, clumsy at first, then less so. Your breath fogs the morning air, your arms ache, but your fear doesn't leave, so you keep going. Wrist finds you an hour later. She watches silently, then takes the knife from your hand, tests its balance, and adjusts your grip. She steps behind you, correcting the angle of your elbow, the tilt of your shoulder. Again, she says. You obey. You don't ask her how she knows how to fight. She never tells you. But that morning she stays with you until the sun burns away the frost and the fear tucked under your ribs. Later, Mazza gives you a new tunic, a little thicker, decorated with black and red stitching. Winter's coming, she says. You trace the stitching, a pattern of bird wings, and you meet her eyes. She smiles. I thought you'd want to wear your name. The next few days pass without Scarcheek making another appearance. He's not gone, just waiting. You feel it. So does Wrist, so you keep training. Each morning, before the rest of camp wakes, you practice. Knife, movement, stillness. You learn to listen better, to track who's near and who's not, to keep your back to the wall when you sleep, to watch for shadows that move when they shouldn't. And gradually you begin to feel it again. That weight in your shoulders, the one that says, I'm still mine. One evening, while you're sorting roots near the fire, Matto sits beside you, silent for once. He watches you work for a while and then says, You're not afraid of him. You pause. I am. He nods, thinking. But you're more afraid of being taken again. You glance at him. Where do you learn that? He shrugs. You. That night, as the fire crackles low and you feel the cold creep in again, you find yourself whispering to the stars, not asking for help, not begging for protection, just saying your name, over and over, softly, so that no one forgets, not even you. Snow arrives in pieces. First as whispers on the wind, soft flurries that melt before they land, like the sky's just testing its aim. Then, in short, hushed falls that blanket the ground overnight but vanish by noon. And then, one morning you wake to find the entire world white, not a soft white, a blinding one. So bright it punches through the teepee's smoke hole like a blade. You sit up slowly, blinking. The air is crisp, brittle. Even your breath feels sharper, like it might snap if you exhale too fast. Outside, silence. That's the first thing you notice, how the snow swallows everything. The usual morning sounds, dogs, fires, chatter, are gone, muffled under a thick, glistening sheet. Wrist is already up, wrapping her feet in extra hide. She grunts when she sees you moving. Your turn to fetch water. You groan. Do I get extra pity because it's frozen? No, you get frozen. You step outside and nearly eat snow. It covers the earth in a thick, uneven blanket that hides every dip and rut and stray root waiting to trip you. The river is a whisper under a skin of ice not quite frozen through. Your breath puffs out in little clouds, and your hands sting through the cloth. The world looks different now, more dangerous, more quiet, and somehow more beautiful. The trees are skeletal but regal, their branches outlined in white lace. Smoke from the camp's fires rises in tall, clean lines. Footprints crisscross the ground like secret paths. Hoofprints, dog tracks, little barefoot kids who still refuse shoes. Even now. You break the ice with a stone, dip your bucket in carefully. The water is colder than death. Back in camp, everyone moves slower. Fires burn longer. The lodges are sealed tighter. Even the kids' mischief softens into quiet games. You help pack snow around the base of the lodge to keep out wind. It feels like you're tucking the world in for sleep, but not everything is hibernating. You notice more men walking the perimeter, checking horses, eyes sharp. Winter doesn't stop enemies, it just makes them harder to see. Still, there's an odd peace in it, a stillness you've never known. In the white silence, nothing pushes you. No past, no future, just the rhythm of survival. That evening, Mazza pulls you into the lodge and hands you a lump of frozen meat. Chew it, she says. You need your teeth. You glare at her. Can't I just boil it like a normal person? No, this way's better. You gnaw on it like a dog. She's not wrong. Wrist sits near the fire, sharpening bone needles. She glances at you. You're better in the cold than I thought. Because I'm white? She smirks. because you used to complain when it rained. There. You smile, chapped lips cracking slightly. She notices. Tosses you a tin of rendered fat mixed with sage. You smear it across your mouth and cheeks, instantly warmer. You'll look like a candle, she says. You're too busy not freezing to care. That night you can't sleep. The cold presses in differently now. Quiet but insistent, like a whisper you can't ignore. You wrap yourself tighter, breathe into your hands, and listen. Someone's singing again. Far off near the ridge, a woman's voice, low, steady. It's a winter song. You can't understand all the words, but the tone is unmistakable. It's not for joy, not for sadness, it's for endurance. The song of people who have done this before, people who've watched the snow fall and lived through it, people who measure years not in birthdays but in winters survived. You let the voice carry you, and you dream of snow that doesn't burn. The next morning you wake to a surprise. Matto bundled like a burrito, dragging something behind him. A sled. Small. Makeshift. Definitely stolen from someone's firewood pile. I made this, he declares. You raise an eyebrow. You definitely didn't. Okay, I found it, he gestures grandly. You're going for a ride. I am? He nods solemnly. It's a tradition. You know he's lying, but it's better than hauling water again. You sit. He yanks the sled with all the strength in his tiny arms. It barely moves. You could crawl faster, but you let him. Because it's winter and joy is rare, and this is what it looks like. Children dragging women through snow while yelling nonsense words about tradition. Later, while warming your hands near the fire, Maza speaks. Do you know the word waziatakiam? You shake your head. She traces a shape in the snow just outside the lodge. A spiral. It means to face the north. Why? Because that's where winter comes from. And strength. You nod slowly. You like that. Not to hide from it. To face it. Wrist adds later. You can't stop the snow. You can only decide if you'll sit in it crying or make a shelter out of it. And if you don't know how, you learn fast. She tosses you a frozen hide and a crooked needle. Time to practice. That night, you share a lodge with 3 women and one very confused dog that insists on sleeping half on your chest. No one complains, not even the dog, because shared heat is survival. You listen to the wind howl outside, shaking the flap. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hoots once. Then silence again. Wrapped in hides, with frost clinging to your eyelashes and the scent of smoke in your hair, you whisper the only word that fits. Waziatakia. Face the north. Let it come. It's midwinter now, and the days have collapsed in on themselves. Morning and afternoon blur together into one long stretch of pale light, and then it's dark again. The sun only bothers to show up for a few hours, low and slanted like it's lost interest in doing its job. You've stopped tracking time by hours and started measuring days by the thickness of ice on the river and how numb your toes are when you wake up. Still, there are moments. Moments when something stirs through the frost, like today. You wake to laughter. Not the usual playful cackles from Matto throwing snowballs at dogs. Real, full-throated laughter, rising from the centre of camp. You peek out of the lodge, blinking against the morning brightness, and spot a crowd near the big fire. But you see colours. Bright ones, paint, feathers, ribbons, bells. People are dancing, and you blink again, hard, thinking maybe your sleep-starved brain is playing tricks. Nope. It's a winter celebration. Not one you've seen before. You dress fast and follow the sound. Wrist is there, already swaying in place, her braids decorated with tiny slivers of shell that click when she moves. Maza has paint across her cheeks and holds a hand drum, beating it in a slow rhythm. Even Red Cord stands at the edge of the circle, his normally still face relaxed, almost amused. You catch Wrist's eye. She grins. Midwinter laugh day. That's a thing. It is now. You're pretty sure that's not the real name, but you're not arguing. Apparently once a winter, when the snow stops just long enough for people to breathe, everyone decides to remember they're not dead yet. The older women dance first, wrapped in thick robes, moving with slow elegance, hips swaying, hands raised. Then the younger women join, twirling, laughing, tossing snow in the air like feathers. Children run between legs, tumbling into drifts, shrieking with delight. Someone passes you a woven belt of rawhide. You're up. You blink. No, I don't. Wrist pushes you forward before you can finish, and suddenly you're in it. Snow crunching beneath your feet, drumbeats echoing in your chest, hands brushing yours as others circle around you. You don't know the steps, but it doesn't matter. You just move, a beat behind, then almost with them. The air is sharp, your breath white, your body half frozen, but your face is warm, from smiling, from laughing. You don't even realize you're singing until you feel it in your throat. Not words, not a song you were taught, just sound, rising, spiraling, joining. And for the first time since you arrived, you're not on the edge of things. You're in the center. You belong to the circle, and the circle belongs to you. Later by the fire, Wrist hands you a cup of broth. Thick, spicy, full of something that might be root, might be meat, might be both. You sip slowly. You looked like a baby bird learning to walk, she teases. You grin. A graceful baby bird. Matto appears soaked and shivering. I fell into the snow pile on purpose. Sure you did, you say. He hands you a bent feather. Souvenir. You tuck it behind your ear. That evening, Maza tells a story. Not a lesson, not a warning, just a story about two sisters who get lost in a snowstorm and find their way back by following the sound of their own laughter. They were told not to leave camp, Maza says, giving you a pointed look. Wrist coughs, clearly trying not to laugh. You accept the judgment. You've earned it. The next morning, the snow returns with a vengeance, but it feels different now. You're ready for it. You help dig paths through the drifts between lodges. You chop wood until your arms ache. You help bind snowshoes for the men preparing to scout. And when Wrist hands you a needle to repair the lining of your tunic, you take it without groaning. Almost. In the days that follow, you keep dancing. Not in ceremony, not for anyone else, just when you walk. There's rhythm now in your steps. Lightness. Your body moves like it trusts itself. Your arms carry weight like they were built for it. One afternoon you catch Redcord watching you. You expect him to turn away. He doesn't. He just nods once and goes back to sharpening his blade. It's not approval, it's acknowledgement. You nod back. One night, as you lie wrapped in furs beside Wrist and two snoring cousins, you feel a flicker of something unexpected. Not just comfort, not just safety, joy. The real kind. The kind that sneaks in on the tail end of exhaustion and frostbite and says, hey, you made it another day. The kind you never thought you'd feel here. But now it lives in your chest like an ember, not a blaze, just steady, enough. You whisper, thank you, to no one in particular, and for once sleep comes easily. You forget what green looks like. It's not sad, really, just a fact. The world has been white and grey and brown for so long now that green feels like a fairy tale someone told you once. A thing that might exist in some distant, warmer version of the world. You try to picture leaves, fresh grass, wet moss, but it's like remembering a dream. Slippery, not quite right. Still, the sky's changing. You notice it first in the mornings. The light is different, softer, bluer, less harsh and sharp around the edges. The birds are louder too, the few that stayed behind. Their songs stretch out more, testing the still frozen air. You notice it in people's movements too. They're preparing. There's a different kind of work now, not the desperate scramble of early winter, but a slow stirring, sewing, repairing, sharpening, getting ready for the thaw. And for the first time you're not being told what to do. You already know. You wake, gather water, help fold hides, check the ponies. Wrist doesn't need to ask. Maza doesn't supervise. They trust you. It's both ordinary and revolutionary. The biggest shift comes when Redcord returns. He's been gone for days, riding with others to scout the land, check for signs of rival bands, maybe even locate a herd of buffalo. He rides in quietly, like he always does. No drama, no announcement. But this time, when he walks into camp, people move to greet him. You see him pause, speak with the elders, hand over something wrapped in cloth. Probably meat, or news. And then he turns, walks straight toward you. You stand automatically, unsure what to expect. He stops a few paces away, studies you like he's taking inventory. Then he says, "Spring comes," you nod. "So I've heard." He pulls something from the satchel at his side, and it's a pouch, small, deer hide, beaded along the edges in red and black. He hands it to you. You take it. Careful. Inside, a stone, smooth, obsidian maybe, cold to the touch, and something else. A carved bone pendant shaped like a feather, You look at him, he doesn't explain, and just says, "For you, from me." Then he turns and walks away. You're left standing there with your breath caught somewhere between your throat and chest. You're not sure what just happened, but Wrist is. She sidles up next to you, looks at the pouch, nods slowly. "Do you want him?" she asks casually. You nearly choke. What? No. That's not... I don't even... She laughs, delighted. Your face just turned the colour of summer berries. You groan. "It's not like that." She shrugs. "It could be." You shake your head, but later when you're alone in the lodge you pull the pouch out again. You hold the pendant between your fingers, run your thumb along the groove carved into the bone. You don't smile, but you don't throw it away either. The next day you find Foxfeather sitting near the ridge again. Her hair is unbraided today, loose and wild like the wind. She gestures for you to sit. You do. She presses her hand into the earth, then yours. The ground is still hard, but underneath, it's softening. She says one word, "Thor." You repeat it, and you feel it. Not just in the dirt, but in yourself. The snow begins to shrink, in patches first, around the edges of the lodge, near the fire pits, in places where feet have walked so often the earth remembers how to be warm. One day, Matto brings you a stick covered in mud. "This is what's under all that white stuff," he says proudly. You try not to laugh. Another day, Maza gives you a bundle of seeds. "Spring comes," she says. "It doesn't care if we're ready." You run your fingers over the seeds, tiny and dry. They look like nothing, but they'll be food, if you tend them, if you survive long enough. Redcord keeps his distance now. Not cold, not distant, just watching. You catch his eye sometimes across the fire or near the horses. He always nods once, and you find you nod back, and it's easier than speaking, more honest somehow. Wrist starts sleeping more soundly again. Less tossing, less murmuring in dreams. One morning you wake to find her hand resting lightly on your arm. Not accidental. You don't move it. The dogs shed their winter coats. The children leave tracks of bare footprints in the softening snow. The sky opens wider each day. And one afternoon a flock of geese passes overhead, calling loud and sharp. Every head in the camp lifts at once. It's official now. The thaw is real. You sit by the river that evening, watching the last of the ice drift past like old skin being shed. You reach into your pouch and pull out the carved feather. You press it into the mud beside you, then smooth the dirt over it, burying it gently, not to discard it, but to plant it, like the seeds, like yourself, like everything that survived the long cold. You sit there for a long time watching the water run, and you whisper, "I'm still here." Not to the river, not to the sky, to yourself, to the girl who was taken, to the woman who returned, to the name that grew inside you when everything else fell away, Zintkala Sapa, Blackbird. Winter is ending, and you're still alive. You wake to rain, not a storm, not yet, just soft, pattering drops on the hide above you, the kind of rain that creeps in after a long absence, shy and gentle, almost apologetic. It soaks into everything, the earth, the hides, your bones. You lie there for a moment, just listening to it, feeling the moisture in the air kiss your cheeks. It's the first real rain of spring, and it smells like a beginning. You step outside and immediately regret it. Mud everywhere. Cold, squishy, ankle-deep in some places. Matto's already covered in it, of course, head to toe, arms out like a bird pretending to fly as he slides and skids in giant arcs. "I'm flying," he yells, before falling face first into the muck. You nod. Majestic. He spits mud and keeps going, and you don't stop him. What would be the point? Camp has changed overnight. No more snow, no more white hush. Now everything is motion and noise and drip, drip, drip. Women step carefully between the puddles, robes hitched up. Smoke rises in damp curls. The wind is warmer, but everything is wet, wet, wet. You help carry logs from the pile. Drenched, heavy, nearly useless, but better than nothing. You can hear the frustration in every grunt, every sigh, every splash of boot into cold, unwilling puddle. Even Wrist looks annoyed. This is the part of spring I didn't miss. Which part? The soggy part. You agree. Your moccasins haven't been dry in 2 days. That afternoon, Redcord approaches the fire where you and Maza are drying strips of meat that survived the thaw. He squats beside the flames, hands out, face unreadable. Then casually he says, "A group of Lakota move north next week. Trading band. You glance at him. Okay. They pass through land near your people. Marza looks up at this. So does Rist, who has appeared out of nowhere like she always does when something important is said. You stare at Red Cord. Your chest feels strange. Not panic, not hope, just pressure. He doesn't continue, just watches you, waiting. You realise this is the first time since you arrived that you've had a real choice, a way back, or forward, or something in between. You ask, "Are you saying I can go?" He shrugs, "If you want." Rist doesn't speak, neither does Marza. It's your decision. That fact alone feels heavier than snow. You sit with it for a while, for hours. You walk away from the fire and toward the river, now bloated and churning, dark with runoff and broken twigs. You crouch beside it, watching foam gather along the rocks. The wind shifts, and you catch the scent of wet bark and fresh earth. It smells like possibility, but also like goodbye. That evening you speak to Fox Feather. You don't ask for advice, you just sit beside her and offer her a dried root. She takes it. After a long silence, she says, "You came here as one thing." You nod. "You're not that thing now." You nod again. She points to the mud on your knees, the braid in your hair, the pouch at your side, and you made choices. "Yes," you whisper. "You may make more." She pats your hand, and that's all. The next morning you speak with Red Cord. "I'll go with them," you say. He doesn't nod, doesn't smile, just says, "You should leave before someone decides you belong too much." You understand. Assimilation is one thing, erasure is another. You won't wait until no one remembers your old name, not even you. Marza helps you pack. Not much, just what you'll need. She tucks a small packet of dried berries into your satchel and says, "For when you're tired of meat." You grin. "I'll never be tired of meat." You say that now. Rist gives you a new pair of moccasins, soft-lined with rabbit fur. "They'll blister you at first," she says, "but you'll like them eventually." "Like you?" "Exactly." She smirks and adjusts the shawl around your shoulders. "You remember what I said when I first brought you here?" You blink. Something about dying?" "Correct. I said you probably wouldn't survive." "And now," she steps back, looks you over, nods once. "Now you might." The next day, the trading band arrives. They're smaller than expected, quiet. Their horses carry bundles of furs and carved items. Some wear painted robes. One woman carries a child on her back who stares at you like you're an animal escaped from a story. You join them just after noon. No ceremony, no dramatic goodbye, just a quiet walk. You glance back once. The camp is still there. Smoke curling, dogs barking, children yelling. A place that once terrified you. Now a place you'll miss. But you walk forward, because you've changed. And the only thing worse than being taken from your home is forgetting you ever had one. 3 days later, you meet a group of settlers near a trading post. They speak English. Badly. One woman looks like she recognizes you, but isn't sure from where. You don't tell her. You give a new name, one that's yours. She offers you bread. You take it. It tastes strange. It's like too much. Weeks pass, then months. You don't return home exactly. You go somewhere new, a place where you can breathe. And remember, and not be asked too many questions. You keep the pouch. You wear your name. And when someone calls you miss, you flinch a little, then smile. You still dream of smoke and feathers and bones painted red. But now you wake up and write them down, because they matter. Because you remember. And that's how you survive. And so, here we are. You made it. From the cold grip of a dawn raid to smoke-stained sunsets on a snowy ridge. From wide-eyed silence in the back of a lodge to dancing in the mud with children who called you sister. You survived the hunger, the fear, the long stares, the near escapes, and the moments when you didn't even know who you were anymore. And maybe that's the point. Not to go back to the girl who was taken, but to become someone else. Someone who walked barefoot across a frozen river. Someone who knew how to say no without speaking. Someone who didn't need rescuing to be free. There's still debate, you know, about people like you. Were you brainwashed? Broken? Did you go native? Did you forget yourself? But the truth is quieter than all that. The truth is you became. You took root in a place that never asked for your name, only your presence. You learned to listen with your hands, to speak without words, to be part of something without disappearing in it. And now? Well, you carry that with you, in the pouches you stitched, in the scar you don't try to hide, in the bird feather tucked into your coat, still faintly smelling of fire. You still flinch when the wind blows too suddenly. You still hear the drum when it rains. But when someone says your name, whichever one, they say it with respect. And that's how you know. You were never lost, you were just becoming. So now, lay your head down, let the fire fade, the snow has melted, the journey is done, and the night is finally quiet. You're safe, you're home, and you're still here.